the Interstellar Mecha cook. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 551, Let You Remember. You, nonsense, Liu Kaoyer stuttered in retort. How could I have dozed off? If you keep accusing me, I'll beat you up, Yu Zixin scoffed. Don't play dumb. I saw it all. Your eyes were closed, your head was nodding, and you hadn't turned a page in the file in ages. What else could it be but doze off? It's because the file was too dusty and sand got in my eyes. Liu Kaoyer felt a little guilty. Come on, your saliva has dripped onto the file, and you're still trying to deny it. Liu Kaoyer reflexively glanced down, only to see the file on the table clean and tidy, with no trace of saliva at all. How could she not know she'd been tricked? She was immediately furious and jumped up to chase Yu Zixin. How dare you tease me? You're asking for a beating. Ever since her relationship with Liu Yifei was exposed, many of her teammates in the fleet would occasionally tease her about her identity. Besides calling her Liu the Foodie, some also called her Auntie. At first, she was furious, feeling she was being called old, but Feng Licken then said, "You've just got a bunch of nephews and grandchildren for nothing. Don't miss out." Liu Kaoyer thought it was a good idea, and from then on, whenever she got angry, she'd just call herself Auntie. Yu Zixin panicked at that. He and Zuchen's combined fighting skills weren't as strong as this Auntie. If she got really pissed, he'd just become a coward. Kaoyer, calm down, don't be angry, Yu Zixin said, circling the desk, desperately trying to avoid the tigress behind him. I was just joking with you. I was wrong, you know you're wrong, Liu Kaoyer sneered. It's too late. Today, I'll let you experience what it's like to be a pig's head for a few seconds. With that harsh remark, she sped up even faster, reaching out to scratch the guy in front of her who was desperately trying to escape. Yu Zixin, who was a little slower, took several hits. Ah, Yu Zixin howled, Auntie, spare me, Ashen, help me, Lin Miaomiao, help me. It wasn't long before Yu Zixin's face was covered in scratches, and the enraged Liu Kaoyer showed no sign of stopping. Zuchen finally couldn't stand it anymore and stood up to intervene. Kaoyer, he said something wrong, just punish him, that's enough. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Yu Zixin hadn't said anything wrong, but that he shouldn't have told the truth. Even if Kaoyer had dozed off while reading the files, she shouldn't have said it. Girls are too shy to be embarrassed in public. This was why Zuchen didn't intervene initially. Zin was used to speaking without restraint, and he didn't even restrain himself in front of others. He deserved some punishment. But after all, he was his significant other, and he felt bad for Yu Zixin's punishment. Seeing Kaoyer's insistence on being unreasonable, he stepped forward to intervene. Under normal circumstances, Liu Kaoyer would stop when she saw Zuchen come forward to plead for mercy, but for some reason today, she was in a bad mood and wanted to find someone to fight, so she did not stop, but warned, Ashen, get out of the way, do you want to be beaten with him? Zuchen could not walk away. He stood in front of Yu Zixin and said calmly, I have no objection if you want to teach him a lesson, but it's not okay to go too far. Okay, then I'll beat you too. Liu Kaoyer raised her clenched fist and smashed it towards Zuchen's handsome face. The fist seemed soft, but it was very fast and there was a slight sound of wind. Zuchen barely avoided her fist and pushed Yu Zixin away. Stay aside, don't come over here. Before he finished speaking, Liu Kaoyer punched him again, and Zuchen immediately focused on dodging her fist. Even if he concentrated, the disparity in strength was clear. The Liu family had a long tradition of martial arts, and Liu Kaoyer had practiced martial arts since childhood. Even with years of self-defense training, Zuchen couldn't defeat her. After only a dozen rounds, he was already being hit several times. Yu Zixin was frantically spinning nearby, wanting to rush over to help, but Feng Licken stopped him, saying, if you go, I'll just cause trouble. Young Master Yu, who had never learned any self-defense, was even more vulnerable. Running over would only add to the chaos. He could only circle in frustration and shout at Liu Kaoyer, Kaoyer, stop it. You're asleep and you think you're in charge. What's so great about just powerful fists? If you're brave enough, Let's get in a mecha. He shouted for a long time, but Liu Kaoyer ignored him and continued her fierce attack. Yu Zixin's face turned pale with anger, and he felt very aggrieved. It was just a joke, so what did Kaoyer mean by that? Was she trying to emulate his Anchuchu? Furious, he touched the space button. Seeing the situation was getting worse, Lin Miaomiao immediately yelled, "Kaoyer, stop it. If you keep making trouble, I'll put you in the dark room for a week when we get back to the fleet." Liu Kaoyer shuddered at the word dark room, and without hesitation, she withdrew her hand and said to Lin Miaomiao with a flattering smile, "Don't, I was just joking with him." "How can you joke like that?" Yu Zixin was indignant. As soon as Liu Kaoyer stopped, he ran to Zhu Chen's side to check on his injuries. He breathed a sigh of relief when he found that except for a few bruises on the corners of Zhu Chen's mouth, everything else was fine. Although it was only a small bruise, he was still unhappy. "You eyed him so hard and you said it was a joke. Do you think I'm blind?" Liu Kaoyer chuckled. "It's just a few bruises. He didn't suffer any internal injuries. Why are you so anxious? You joke around every now and then. I'm just giving you a taste of what it's like to be a joke." It turned out that she had done this on purpose. Yu Zixin was stunned. "What do you mean? What do you mean by joking with me? Did you do that on purpose?" "Yes," Liu Kaoyer admitted casually. "Not only did I hit Zhu Chen on purpose, but Miaomiao and Likin also didn't intervene." "Why?" Yu Zixin didn't understand. Why would these people gang up on him? Had he done something outrageous recently? "I'll teach you a lesson. Don't make jokes so easily next time, or you'll cause trouble again," Fang Likin said coldly. Although they sided with Yu Zixin regarding Aunt Yu's situation, they didn't think he was completely innocent. Knowing Yu had a bad temper, they deliberately poked at her sore spots. It was simply insane. For older women, isn't the most frustrating thing about not being able to get married or growing old? So after the matter was resolved, they gathered together and decided to teach him a lesson. But it was no use. He was the epitome of someone who forgets the pain even after the wound has healed. It would be better to give Zhu Chen a beating, he'd surely never forget the pain. After learning the truth, Yu Zixin was very depressed. He was well aware of his outspokenness, but he did not expect that he would be unanimously condemned by everyone and that this was designed to punish him. Chapter 552, A Good Omen. Days passed by as he flipped through files, and soon the graduation ceremony for the graduates' choice of university was approaching. Early that morning, Lin Miaomiao fried dough sticks and fried eggs, preparing a delicious breakfast for everyone. It seemed a bit meager, at least for the two men. "One dough stick and 2 eggs, and that's today's breakfast." Yu Zixin stared at the plate, unable to accept the harsh reality. "Miaomiao, are you broke?" Lin Miaomiao tapped the plate. "If you don't want to eat, don't eat. You're giving me free food and you think it's not enough." "No, I'm not complaining, I'm just, if you don't think it's too little, then eat it quickly. Finish it quickly so you can go distribute flyers. Don't forget, today's a crucial day." Yu Zixin devoured his plate in a few bites and said wryly, "I'm not even 3/4 full." Liu Kaoyer quickly finished hers, wiped her mouth, and handed the plate to the nearby intelligent robot. 2 more meat buns, a fried cake, and a glass of soy milk, please wait," said, taking the plate and entering the kitchen. Yu Zixin, "So it's possible, but why not serve all the breakfasts? Stupid, this is a good omen. A fried dough stick and 2 oval fried eggs represent 100 points, that's full marks," Liu Kaoyer explained seriously. "We have full marks, which means things will go smoothly today, understand?" Yu Zixin shook his head with a confused look on his face, and smiled when his eyes met Error, who came back with a meal. He hurriedly handed over the plate. "Give me 4 meat buns, 2 fried cakes, and a glass of milk, please wait." Error went into the kitchen to get the meal without getting tired. Yu Zixin sighed twice, it's such futile superstition. Fortunately, Error doesn't know what trouble is, otherwise he would definitely go on strike. Lin Miaomiao glared at him. "Today is a critical period. It doesn't matter if there is trouble. Don't you want to recruit more junior students into our fleet today?" "I hope so, of course I hope so." Yu Zixin didn't dare to deny it. "Then stop talking nonsense and eat quickly," Liu Kaoyer urged. "You're the only one who hasn't finished yet. If we're delayed later, it'll be your fault." Yu Zixin looked over and saw that he was the only one who hadn't finished. He didn't dare to talk anymore. He picked up his milk and gulped it down, then packed up the remaining buns in a bag. Wiping his mouth, he said, "Let's go to school." That's good, Liu Kai'er praised him with a condescending air, almost wanting to reach out and touch his head in encouragement. They drove to school and headed to the arena with familiarity. This year's volunteer application conference was still held in the main arena, which made Lin Miaomiao feel that the school auditorium was completely useless and just for show. It's said that the lights in the auditorium are too energy-consuming. They have to be on during the day. But the arena is different. They have a glass skylight, so it's bright during the day, Yu Zixin boasted as he ate. He accidentally choked, and Zuchen hurriedly handed him a bottle of purified water. Be careful. Eat first, and don't talk. Don't get killed on my car. I can't afford the compensation, Lin Miaomiao said coldly. Yu Zixin glared at her. You jinx. I'm fine. How could I die so easily? I know, Liu Kai'er said excitedly, raising her hand. As the old saying goes, misfortune lasts 1,000 years. Yu Zixin suddenly felt so sad that his appetite vanished, and he couldn't even finish the remaining half of his bun. He'd assumed they'd have breakfast at 7 o'clock and depart at 7:10, making them the first fleet to arrive at the main arena. But the tables were already packed, at least 3/4 of the fleet representatives had already arrived. The recruiting tables were randomly placed. Since they were late, all 4 elevator entrances were occupied. Zuchen and Yu Zixin borrowed a table and began to discuss where to put them. Put it in the center. The students will definitely pass by as they run around, Liu Kai'er thought. Or put it on the edge. Many people get off the flying cars directly, Yu Zixin said, already observing the areas with the most cars parked. Zin, you were so focused on eating that you didn't even notice the students' cars were stopped, Liu Kai'er looked at him with disdain. The rules have been changed again this year. Only teachers and recruiting representatives can ride cars directly to the main stage. Why? Why did they change so many rules out of the blue? Yu Zixin was dissatisfied. He had already chosen a convenient spot where he wouldn't be hit by cars and would be the first to see them from those getting off the cars. But now they told him that the students could only take the elevator. How could he have fun? Feng Licken was curious. Could it be that there are too many graduates and they are afraid that something will happen due to the overcrowding? No, Lin Miaomiao shook her head. I heard from my cousin that this matter is also related to Meng Xiaozihu. Meng Xiaozihu, Liu Kai'er and Yu Zixin asked in unison. Who is that? Lin Miaomiao was embarrassed. You actually forgot that she was also a member of the wilderness survival team when we graduated. Zhang Keek's White Lotus cousin. It's her. Everyone suddenly realized. Is her influence so great? Is it because of her that the school prohibits students from riding flying cars directly to the main stage? Yes, it's because of her. Lin Miaomiao nodded seriously. Her influence is much greater than you think. Hurry up and tell me. Don't keep us in suspense, Yu Zixin urged. His curiosity was piqued and he had no time to choose a good position. He directly found an open space on the edge of the ring to settle down. It's because she was late. The teachers opened the protective shield, and she didn't notice it and crashed into it head first, and finally the car was bounced out. Although she was protected by the safety air cushion in the car, she still fell into coma. I know this, Liu Kai'er said quickly. I heard that after she was admitted to the hospital, it was discovered that her mental power was in a disordered state and she could lose control at any time. Yes, later because she was too emotional, her mental power lost control, and she ran rampant in the mental realm, and finally collapsed the mental realm. Lin Miaomiao's mouth curled up slightly. It is said that she couldn't accept the facts and finally committed suicide. How could this be? Is she dead? I heard that she joined the auxiliary fleet of the Central Corps. Liu Kai'er couldn't believe it. Did I remember it wrong? Probably not wrong. Lin Miaomiao spread his hands irresponsibly. It seems that he joined a small fleet that was just waiting to die. Most of them are first and second level mecha divisions. They rarely have the opportunity to do missions. The school helped him get in. After saying that, she added, because her car hit the protective shield and fell down. After she attempted suicide and was rescued, her parents came to the school to ask the principal for an explanation. This also indirectly explained why the school helped Meng Xiaozihu find the fleet. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 553 Don't Call Me Sister. After setting up the tables and chairs, the fleet nameplate was placed neatly on the table. Flyers were taken out and divided into 5 portions. The largest portion was placed on the table for the students to use. The other 4 portions, with similar numbers, had to be distributed proactively. I can't force a smile, so I'll leave the flyers to you, Lin Miaomiao said without a trace of shame as she pushed the job of distributing flyers away and sat at the table waiting for people to sign up. Liu Kaoyer glanced at her expressionless face, swallowed her protest, and resignedly took the flyers to look for the students who had arrived early. Lin Miaomiao breathed a sigh of relief after the 4 people who had distributed flyers left the table. If she had been asked to distribute the flyers, she probably wouldn't have been able to distribute a single one in half a day, and they would have ended up just throwing them in the trash. After a while of random thoughts, she turned around and glanced at the nameplate on the table next to her. She saw the Longjia fleet on the left and the Mengjia fleet on the right. She suddenly felt terrible. She had encountered fleets she didn't want to see. Was it not a good day to travel? At 8 o'clock sharp, the volunteer selection meeting officially began. Students kept coming to Mengjia's table, surrounding Mengjia's 2 recruiting representatives, but no one paid any attention to Shanayu. Fortunately, Longjia on her left was also ignored, so Lin Miaomiao didn't feel too awkward sitting there. After waiting for about half an hour, Lin Miaomiao finally welcomed the first student to ask for advice. It was a girl with a baby face. As soon as she sat down across from her, she timidly asked, "Sister, are you recruiting here?" Lin Miaomiao frowned. Why would she set up a table and sit here if they weren't recruiting? And even if she had a baby face, she couldn't just call her sister. She might be too young. However, the age issue can be put aside for now. The main focus right now is the task. Lin Miaomiao thought about it and said in a friendly manner, "Excuse me, classmate, what does you want to know?" Unfortunately, her efforts seemed to have no effect. Instead of being comforted, the baby-faced girl seemed to be frightened. Her slightly round body trembled and she said in a crying voice, "I just came to see if you were recruiting." Lin Miaomiao was speechless. She gave up the idea of making herself look more friendly and said with a wooden face, "Of course we are recruiting. What's your name? Which department are you from? How old are you this year?" The baby-faced girl breathed a sigh of relief and answered in a low voice, "My name is Liu Lin. I'm from the manicure department. I'm 24 years old this year." Lin Miaomiao was a little surprised. Although this girl looked a little round, she was not the kind of tomboy who was big and strong. She actually chose the manicure department. Did she think those lubricated parts were dirty? Generally speaking, students in the armor repair department have better mental power, because the parts that make up the mecha seem to be almost the same, but there are still slight differences in the interfaces. In order to make the replacement parts fit better with the mecha, you have to use mental power to make fine adjustments to make the connection smoother. Your mental power is not bad, and your body seems to be healthy, so why didn't you join the mecha department? Without noticing, Lin Miaomiao said the doubt in her heart. Liu Lin blushed immediately. "My health is not very good. I used to be very thin, the kind that would fall down if the wind blew." "No way," Lin Miaomiao questioned. "I think you look quite strong now." His cheeks were chubby, and even his double chin appeared. He was about 1.6 meters tall and weighed more than 130 grams. "Is this considered thin?" "I didn't want to be like this," Liu Lin defended with a blushing face. "It's because my mom said I'm about to graduate and can't be like before, so she stewed chicken soup and made braised pork and sent it to me every day, and I have to eat a cream cake in the evening. After a few months, I became like this." Lin Miaomiao had a toothache. A small cream cake every night, isn't this really the rhythm of fattening up her daughter? Judging from the girl's appearance, it seems that the effect is quite good. However, these have nothing to do with her credit points, so she only hesitated for a moment before decisively changing the subject. "So, what level of manicurist are you now?" "My comprehension is too poor," Liu Lin said weakly. "I'm only level 3 now." A level 3 manicurist is indeed not very good, but among newly graduated students, level 3 is already an upper middle level. I don't know why they chose their fleet. After a few days of looking through the files, she still had a slight impression of Liu Lin. Knowing she was indeed a level 3 manicurist, she didn't bother to dwell on it and simply handed over a form. "Fill out the application first." Liu Lin's eyes lit up at that, and she took the form and filled it out diligently. Lin Miaomiao glanced at it casually, noticing her handwriting was very neat and elegant, and her liking for her grew even stronger. After completing the application, Lin Miaomiao put it away without even glancing at it. She turned to Liu Lin, who was staring at her eagerly, and asked, "Is there anything you'd like to know?" Liu Lin shook her head shyly. "No, I'll have plenty of time to learn once I join the fleet." "You don't have to waste my time." Lin Miaomiao was satisfied. The girl was quite understanding. However, since they would be teammates in the future, she still had to clarify what was necessary to avoid any embarrassment if she found out the truth later. "There's something I need to tell you first," Lin Miaomiao said seriously. "What is it?" Liu Lin asked nervously. Could it be that she didn't meet Shen Yu's recruitment requirements? It's no wonder she felt so uneasy. Before opening this place, she'd visited several fleet registration offices, but the representatives' looks turned strange upon learning she was a manicurist. They wouldn't even ask about her rank before rejecting her outright. According to them, female manicurists rarely reach high ranks because they lack the perseverance and savvy of men. After repeated setbacks, Liu Lin was nearing despair. Just then, a cheerful female soldier handed out a flyer, briefly outlining the size and origins of the Shen Yu fleet. The recruitment requirements were brief: as long as you want to join, as long as you have integrity and character, as long as you are able to endure hardship and persevere. Shen Yu was the only one handing out flyers, and the requirements didn't require exceptional skills. That's why Liu Lin mustered the courage to apply. Initially, she was a little worried by the expressionless face of the female soldier in charge of the recruitment process, but she was surprised to receive the application form without a hitch. Filling out the application form meant that Shen Yu had accepted her. After that, wouldn't she just have to wait for the fleet to come to the school to pick up the new recruits? But now the representative said he had something to tell her. What on earth was going on? Liu Lin's mind was in turmoil, worried that the form would be returned again. Lin Miaomiao didn't understand the entanglement in her heart at all, and still said formally with a blank face, "I'm 3 years younger than you, please don't call me sister." "Oh," Liu Lin responded stupidly. It took her a long time to react to what she heard. The blush that had finally faded flew back to her chubby little face. She stammered an apology. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." Chapter 554, Rogue Makes Trouble. Ignorance is not a crime. Lin Miaomiao brought it up to save Liu Lin the embarrassment of learning the truth later when she joined the fleet. Seeing that she understood, he casually told her to go back and rest. "Remember to keep your communicator open." Liu Lin complied obediently and wanted to say a few more words when a few male students holding flyers arrived behind her. Unable to delay Lin Miaomiao any longer, she whispered a goodbye and turned to leave. A tall, thin man wearing a baseball cap and carrying a cool black shoulder bag shook the flyer in his hand and asked, "Are you guys recruiting?" The tall, thin man had many shiny pimples on his face. He spoke in a cocky voice and shook his legs from time to time as he stood there. He didn't look like an honest person. Lin Miaomiao didn't seem like she was up to it. Instead of a warm greeting, she said coldly, "Don't ask me nonsense. We're not here to recruit, are we here to watch the fun?" "Hey, what's with your attitude?" The tall, thin man slammed the flyer on the table and glared at her fiercely. "I'm only here to ask you questions because I want to join your fleet. Be careful, I'll complain about you after I join the fleet." He seemed so confident of joining Shen Yu that he wasn't even afraid of getting in trouble for offending the veterans of the advanced fleet. Lin Miaomiao curled her lips, muttering to herself, "This guy is feeling too good about himself." She hadn't even prepared an application form, but he acted as if he had already successfully joined the fleet, which made her feel both amused and embarrassed. "I'm really sorry, we don't have any intention of accepting you into the fleet," Lin Miaomiao said apologetically, but there was no regret in her eyes as she sat firmly in her seat. The tall and thin man was stunned. "You didn't even ask me what level of mecha master I was, and you rejected me." Several male students following behind him immediately clamored, "What's the matter with your fleet? Brother Fan is a 4th level mecha master. It's already unfair enough for him to join your fleet, and you actually dare to refuse. You bitch don't want to be in this business anymore. Do you know who Brother Luo's eldest brother is?" Lin Miaomiao shook her head calmly. "I don't know. Who is his eldest brother? I'll scare you to death if I tell you," the fat man with yellow hair said proudly. "His eldest brother is Captain Luo Cheng of your Shanghai." Captain Luo? Lin Miaomiao was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. How could the steady Luo Cheng have a younger brother who looked like a gangster? The yellow-haired fat man didn't understand what she meant. He just thought that she was frightened by Luo Cheng's identity. He puffed out his chest and said, "What's the matter, are you scared? Forget it, fatty, don't argue with a woman," the tall and thin man said arrogantly. "After all, we will be in the same fleet in the future. As long as she is respectful to me, I will forgive her." "Brother Luo, why are you?" Fatty was surprised. He was usually not so generous. Those who offended him would only be beaten. Today he didn't even pursue the matter to the end. Could it be that? Looking at Lin Miaomiao's pretty face, Fatty understood and laughed. "Brother Luo has taken a fancy to this soldier girl. Don't scare me. You might have to call me sister-in-law in the future." Luo Ji's acne-covered face trembled. He sat down pretending to be cool and said to Lin Miaomiao, "You need to fill out an application form first. Bring the form here and borrow a few pens." Lin Miaomiao was speechless. "Are you overthinking it? I didn't agree to let you enter Shanyu." "What did you say? You don't agree?" Roger slammed the table in anger and shouted, "Do you know what you're saying? Believe it or not, I'm going to video chat with Captain Luo and have him expel you." Roger's voice was incredibly loud, and many people heard him. The bustling main arena suddenly quieted down. "What's wrong with Miaomiao?" Liu Kaoyer strode over from a distance. "Are these people causing trouble?" "No, we're here to register," Pandan said weakly, not expecting the matter to escalate so drastically. Originally, Roger had a brother who was the captain of the Shenyu fleet, so joining the fleet was a simple matter. Unfortunately, they miscalculated Lin Miaomiao's reaction and revealed their true colors in front of her. But even so, Fatty was not too anxious, because Brother Luo is a 4th-level mecha division, and he has a brother who is the captain of Shenyu. This female soldier actually refused to sign up for him, so he was angry. 4th-level mecha division? Some fleet representatives were tempted. It's their loss if Shenyu is not willing to accept you. Why not come to our Luogia? Our fleet is also very good. Roger frowned. The fleet that had been on the countdown for 10,000 years still had the nerve to recruit him. If it were normal, he would definitely ridicule it, but now with so many eyes staring at him, he didn't dare to act rashly and could only force a smile. "I'm sorry, I just want to join the same fleet with my eldest brother. I haven't seen him for a long time since he joined the fleet." After that, he looked at Lin Miaomiao and said politely, "Comrade, I sincerely want your fleet. Please don't refuse me, okay?" Lin Miaomiao didn't even raise her head and answered him coldly, "No, you don't meet our requirements." Of course, Roger knew she wouldn't agree. He didn't think joining Shenyu was that difficult, and he acted casually at first, only to run into such a problem. His current courtesy was just for the sake of Liu Kaoyer and the other 3 who had rushed back. As long as they agreed, there would be nothing this cold and arrogant female soldier could do. As long as he joined the fleet, there would be plenty of opportunities to deal with this person who refused to accept a toast. Roger was confident in his status as a 4th-level mecha master and Luo Cheng's younger brother. Anyone with a sense of humility would know to accept him into the fleet. However, they didn't know that Lin Miaomiao and the others had a close relationship. Everyone knew she wasn't the kind of person who would make trouble for no reason and wouldn't refuse to accept someone without a reason. Feng Licken carefully observed Roger and the people behind him. Seeing that although they pretended to be serious, their eyes and brows revealed a look of pride and frivolity, she knew what was going on. "Miaomiao, won't you announce the reason for your refusal?" Feng Licken smiled gently. "Even if you don't meet our recruitment conditions, you can't reject us without knowing the reason." Luo Ji was delighted, thinking that his guess came true, and he pretended to be distraught. "I know my appearance may be a little scary, but the doctors said that acne is a normal condition, and it will be cured in a few months with treatment." Lin Miaomiao was depressed. He was trying to put the blame on her for judging people by their appearance. How could Luo Cheng have such a stupid brother? Could he have picked him up from a recycling station? Although she didn't like to argue with others, she was not someone who was willing to take the blame. Seeing that Luo Ji was determined to make a big deal, she was unhappy and sneered, "No matter how ugly you are, it has nothing to do with me, but it's wrong for you to tease me when you are so ugly. Do you think that your brother is the captain and all the female members of the fleet can only be teased by you?" The onlookers widened their eyes. This is the rhythm of the plot reversal. Chapter 555, Singing and Acting in Harmony. Roger's confident face cracked. He'd assumed someone as cold and arrogant as Lin Miaomiao wouldn't bother to defend herself, and wouldn't be popular, which is why he'd so brazenly pinned the blame on her. Unexpectedly, the Shenyu representatives who arrived later didn't take his words to heart. Instead, They patiently questioned the female soldier about what had happened. In his haste, he'd forgotten to conceal his shock. By the time he came to his senses and tried to continue his argument, the onlookers had already lost their faith. "How dare you tease my Miaomiao? You're so bold." Liu Kaoyu angrily raised her fist, ready to start a fight if they disagreed. Feng Liken quickly pulled her back. "Don't be impulsive. If we have to fight, you're not the one to start, but the boss." Liu Kaoyu wanted to say that Yu Hongwen was away, so she couldn't punish the lecher. But then she realized that this guy had been making trouble for so long just to get into Shenyu. She started to think about it. Otherwise, she could take him back and let the boss teach him a lesson. Liu Kaoyu, who rarely used her brain, naturally didn't want to let such a brilliant idea go. She immediately pulled Feng Liken aside and whispered to her, easily convincing her. After the discussion, Liu Kaoyu returned to the table and said to Lin Miaomiao, "You go hand out the flyers first, and we'll take care of this." Lin Miaomiao didn't know what her friend was up to, but she didn't ask any questions. She was too impatient to deal with Roger, who thought he was so awesome, so she took the flyers from Feng Liken and left. After all, she was still curious about what Kaoyu wanted to do. She walked a short distance and then came back quietly, just hiding in the crowd to slack off. Then she saw Liken gently said to Roger, "Do you want to join our Shenyu?" Without waiting for his answer, Liu Kaoyu shouted indignantly, "Liken, don't talk nonsense with him. Since he dared to tease Miaomiao, we can't accept them into the fleet." Roger originally suspected that Feng Liken was up to some tricks, but when he heard Liu Kaoyu shouting like this, he suddenly had some ideas in his mind. It turned out that the people in Shenyu were not a solid group. "Comrade representative, you have misunderstood," Roger said sincerely. "I know what I look like. How dare I tease your companions?" Liu Kaoyu glanced at him sideways. "Do you mean that Miaomiao wronged you?" "That's not the case," Roger explained half-truthfully. "I was in a bad mood just now, and maybe I was a little impolite when I spoke to her, so she misunderstood." Denial is not a good choice. After all, Lin Miaomiao is more familiar with him. If he denies what she said just now, these people probably won't believe him. But if he half-heartedly denies it, they might even become suspicious. Liu Kaoyu wanted to retort, but Feng Liken pushed her aside with a sullen look. "Alright, if it's just a misunderstanding, why are you holding on to it? Don't forget, he's a 4th-level mecha master and Captain Luo's younger brother. Who knows if what he said is true?" Liu Kaoyu muttered. "Captain Luo may not look as good as the boss or the lieutenant, but he's still a handsome guy. How can he be like his brother?" Roger's face changed slightly, and his smile became forced. His right fist clenched tightly. He didn't understand why everyone always liked to compare him to his eldest brother. And always said that he wasn't as good as his eldest brother, when he was clearly the best young man in the family. He was just a 5th-level mecha master, the captain of a small fleet. What was there to be proud of? He was already a 4th-level mecha master. Just one more step to level 5. As for the captain's position, once he joined Shenyu, was there any fear that he wouldn't have the chance to take his place? Firmly determined to join Shenyu, Roger said to Feng Liken politely, "I heard from my eldest brother that the atmosphere in Shenyu is very good, and there are always many interesting things happening in the fleet, so I always wanted to join the same fleet with him." So, Feng Liken immediately smiled and said, "It's good for two brothers to be in the same fleet. When we are not training, we can get together to avoid being strangers." "I thought so too, but unfortunately," Roger said a little sadly, "you all refuse to accept me, so I'm afraid I can't fulfill this wish." "I'm glad to know," Liu Kaoyu said proudly with her hands on her hips, "our fleet is not a place you can enter by relying on relationships. Those who don't have the strength should stand aside." "Kaoyu, don't talk nonsense." Feng Liken shook her head disapprovingly. "Have you forgotten what I said to you just now?" "I didn't forget, but Miaomiao said, there's nothing but, it's just a misunderstanding. I will explain to Miaomiao later." "Okay, Kaoyu, stop talking nonsense. Why don't you accept a 4th-level mecha division?" Yuzixin interrupted impatiently. "Don't forget that we are here to recruit new soldiers. It's not nice to push such talents away for such a small matter." Zhu Chen also tried to smooth things over. As the saying goes, there is no acquaintance without fighting. Even if it's just a misunderstanding, it shows that Brother Luo has a connection with our fleet. "Don't worry too much, Kaoyu. Miaomiao will understand us. You are the only one who understands, right? You insist on accepting them even if you are not allowed to. Forget it, It's up to you. Once they enter Shenyu, they can only blame themselves if they are bullied in the future. Liu Kaoyu pouted and kept silent. Feng Lican then asked Luo Ji and others to fill out the form. Lin Miaomiao, who was hiding in the crowd, was thoughtful. Are they going to drag people back to bully? Kaoyu's acting skills just now were really exaggerated. Anyone who knew her could see it. No wonder Yu Zixin and Zhu Chen both offered to help. That Luo Ji will regret it after entering the base. But if his eldest brother is Luo Cheng, Yi Hongwen seems not to be able to use heavy hands. Why not send a text message to Luo Cheng to report it, so as not to encounter obstacles when he tries to bully him in the future? She will not go too far. At most, she will find someone to beat him up a few times to vent her anger. She will definitely not use any cruel hands. After all, this is also to help Luo Cheng discipline his disobedient brother. Luo Ji excitedly filled out the form and left with a few younger brothers. Lin Miaomiao then returned to Shen Yu's stall, picked up a few application forms on the table and took a look. She said with great disgust, "These handwritings are too ugly, like dog crawling." Feng Lican said indifferently, "He must be a person who doesn't like to write. In the future, if he makes a mistake, in addition to being locked up in a small dark room, he can also be punished by copying the ship regulations." Lin Miaomiao was embarrassed. She was thinking about how to punish others before she even went in. Is this really okay? It seems that our fleet does not have any ship regulations. Liu Kaoyu frowned. Even if there are only a few articles. It doesn't matter. When we go back, ask Kinky-u to make a thick one. Lin Miaomiao had already thought about it. Ship regulations can be made thicker if you want. You can't spit anywhere, you can't litter, you have to keep the dormitory clean and tidy, etc. Liu Kaoyu and others were silent. Who thought that was not good just now, and now he is racking his brains to list all kinds of obsolete clauses. It is obvious that these clauses are something that all residents of the Federation remember by heart. Chapter 556, Married Man Cannot See. The flyers were almost all handed out, with almost everyone holding one. After discussing it, the five decided not to go around distributing flyers anymore, and instead waited at the table for someone to come. Roger and the others' disturbance wasn't entirely bad for them, at least many students were paying attention to them, especially those who had participated in the wilderness survival competition. They knew that Shen Yu's recruiting representatives were all seniors from the previous class, and had even enjoyed the snacks Lin Miaomiao had prepared. Since they were paying attention, they naturally wanted to learn more about Shen Yu's situation. It wasn't long before a group of female students surrounded Lin Miaomiao and the others. With so many people around, there was no shortage of gossip, so to avoid a mess, a short-haired, tomboyish girl became the spokesperson, carefully inquiring about Shen Yu's situation. The tomboy's first question was, "What level of mecha operators does your fleet accept?" Liu Kaoyu replied, "There's no level limit. If you're a good person and willing to work hard, we'll even accept second-level mecha operators. Wouldn't it mean we have a lot of comrades?" "Yes," Yu Zixin said calmly, "although we don't have over 1,000 yet, I believe it won't be long before Shen Yu becomes a major fleet." "What's the food and accommodation like at the base? Will it be difficult?" Zhu Chen frowned. "Being a soldier requires the ability to endure hardships. If you want to enjoy life, then don't join the fleet." The tomboy blushed. Although she dressed more masculine, she was still a girl, and she was more interested in the handsome man in front of her. Seeing such a handsome man change color, she felt a little embarrassed and quickly explained, "I don't want to join the fleet to enjoy life. My family is worried, so I wanted to find out some information to reassure them." "Oh, that's good," Zhu Chen said, his expression softening a little. "Senior Zhu, I know you're a graduate from the previous class. Since you joined Shen Yu, I trust your judgment," the tomboy said shyly. Zhu Chen was a little embarrassed. He had a very high emotional intelligence and could naturally see that this schoolgirl had a good impression of him, but he couldn't just ignore her because of this uncertain thing, so he forced a smile and said, "This is the schoolgirl's own choice," but Yu Zixin was unhappy. "Just answer the questions. Why sell out your sexuality?" He immediately pulled her to his side and said with a stern face, "Schoolgirls, do you have anything else to ask? There are so many people coming now, I'm afraid I don't have much time to entertain you." He couldn't just throw everyone else aside for a few people, he wanted to take more people back. The tomboy looked back and saw that there were indeed quite a few people standing behind. Even if she wanted to say a few more words to Zhu Chen, she was embarrassed, So she smiled and said, "I finished asking. Senior, can you give us a few forms?" Although Yu Zixin was unhappy that she was pestering her boyfriend, she still clearly distinguished between public and private matters, so she took a few forms and handed them over personally. It wasn't the forms Zuchen handed over. The tomboy was visibly disappointed, but she still politely thanked him. Her round eyes glanced at the gentle senior a few times before she and her best friends distributed the forms and went to find a place to fill them out. As soon as the junior students left, Yu Zixin immediately reached out and twisted Zuchen's waist, accusing him angrily, "Why are you so good-looking? You only attract bees and butterflies. I asked you to recruit, not find a mistress." Zuchen smiled helplessly. "It's not like I provoked you, Ashen. You can't blame me like this. Whatever, you'll sleep on the floor tonight," Yu Zixin said angrily. Zuchen rubbed his nose. Other people's eyes were dishonest, not his own, so how could he be blamed? He felt really wronged. "If I were ugly, you probably wouldn't look down on me either," Zuchen couldn't help but mutter under his breath. He knew Ashen's personality well. He ignored those who were too ugly, and even made friends based on appearance. Although Yu Zixin was busy greeting the inquiring guests, he also paid close attention to the noise behind him. His face darkened at Zuchen's words, and he resolved inwardly that he would not relent and let him off this time. Knowing he had intentions towards her, yet still speaking softly to him was simply unfaithful to his husband. The tomboy finished filling out the form and happily came to hand it in, hoping to seize the opportunity to say a few words to his idol, but was intercepted by Yu Zixin. After handing in the form, the tomboy still lingered, refusing to leave. Finally unable to bear it, Yu Zixin scowled at her, sternly saying, "Don't look at me too much. He's my man. You can't look at him like that. I'll charge you." The tomboy was startled by this and instinctively denied it shyly. "Senior you misunderstood. I just wanted to say goodbye to Senior Zhu." Then, suddenly realizing, "Wait, you said you were..." The word couple lingered on her lips, but she didn't have the energy to say it, unwilling to believe it. "We've been together since before we even graduated," Yu Zixin declared generously. "Although we haven't made a public announcement, many people in school should know about it. So, if you're a married girl, it's best not to look at her too closely to avoid misunderstandings." Yu Zixin and Zuchen were a year ahead of them, so they'd run into each other quite often in the teaching building. They hadn't deliberately concealed their affairs, so why was this girl acting like she'd never heard of them? The truth was too harsh. Before the tomboy could even begin to rejoice in meeting her idol again, she was stunned by the revelation that he'd been taken since school. She stared blankly at the perfect couple before her eyes rolled back, and she passed out. "Ah!" her friends cried out in unison. "Ruoro, what's wrong with you?" Zuchen twitched his lips. The girl looked strong, but her health wasn't great. She'd fainted out of nowhere. It was best to quickly video call the infirmary. After struggling for a long time, the robot nurse carried the person away. Yu Zixin felt depressed thinking about the chaos just now, and tried to pinch the soft flesh on Zuchen's waist, but this time he was let go. "What's the matter? Are you heartbroken to see her fainted, and you want to quarrel with me?" Yu Zixin put his hands on his hips and glared at him fiercely. "If you really feel sorry for her, then go after her. Why are you still standing here?" Zuchen had a headache, and his tone was a bit colder than usual. "Stop it. It was just a misunderstanding just now. Why think too much?" "Misunderstanding?" Yu Zixin sneered. "If it was just a misunderstanding, how could she be so excited to hear that you and I are a couple that she fainted? That's her business, none of my business. You can't blame me for the mistake just because others like me. That's not fair." Zuchen was still very ruthless when he should be. The girl named Ruoro was just a schoolmate he didn't know. Even if they were to be members of a fleet in the future, he didn't want to cause unpleasantness between her and Ashen. "Who made you look like this?" Yu Zixin knew it wasn't Zuchen's fault, but he still felt a pang of discontent. Why had he never attracted any bad romantic interests, while he repeatedly attracted covetous glances? "Ah Zin, can you please be reasonable?" "No." Chapter 557 Bad News. Because of an unfamiliar schoolmate, Yu Zixin flew into a rage. After a quarrel with Zuchen, they officially entered a Cold War. The younger students waiting in line to join Shen Yu were secretly delighted. They had encountered such an interesting story before even joining the fleet. They thought they would see more gossip once they joined. It turns out the military is more than just a place to train war machines. Many students, who had been waiting impatiently, reaffirmed their determination to join Shen Yu. The representatives of the Longjia fleet nearby were so excited that their eyes were red. Why didn't anyone come to sign up? After a busy morning, Lin Miaomiao and the others had no time to recruit people. After finishing the work and sorting out the application forms, Liu Kaoyu volunteered to count them and found that there were 137 applicants in total, including 114 mecha technicians, 10 armor repair technicians, 6 card makers, and 7 students from the Star Wars Command Department. The 5 of them were quite proud of this record. That's more than last year, Yu Zixin said proudly. Even the boss couldn't recruit this many. He felt delighted at the jealous look in the Longjia fleet representative's eyes. Lin Miaomiao pouted, last year, only 1 person came, and this year there are 5 of us. Yu Zixin glared. Miaomiao, you're such a jerk. I'm praising us, and you're sabotaging me even though you're involved. Who told you to compare me to my boyfriend? Why don't you compare me to Captain Luo and Captain Liu's performance? Okay, I was wrong. The boss is better than us. Okay, Yu Zixin surrendered. The captains didn't even recruit many last year. There's no comparison. That's good to know. Don't make random comparisons next time. After dealing with the cocky Yu Zixin, Feng Liqin and Liu Kaoyu had already put away the application forms and were ready to leave. Zhu Chen took the initiative to return the table. With it done, the 5 of them returned to the villa excitedly. Tonight, they had to input the information from the forms into their communicators and send it to Gu Qingheng, then wait for his reply on the date the warship would arrive to pick them up. I guess he won't give us an answer tonight, Yu Zixin said with a grin. Gu Jian is alone, and he has to sort out so many files of new recruits, and then arrange the route for the warship to pick them up. It's tiring enough. Liu Kaoyu nodded in agreement. Indeed, the boss is too unkind. He actually took away several captains. He just went to deliver military uniforms. Lin Miaomiao was depressed. She put the blame on her man again. He didn't take her seriously. In a rage, she said, Kaoyu, you should take the passenger ship back in the afternoon. Don't forget that you are his adjutant. Liu Kaoyu, who still had no sense of being an adjutant, was dumbfounded. She was really stupid. She actually said bad things about the boss in front of Miaomiao. Isn't this asking for a scolding? Or what? I'll send a video to Kinky later and suggest that he call you back, Lin Miaomiao said seriously. Liu Kaoyu cried out mournfully, please spare me. Her video feed rang almost immediately. She looked at the incoming call and her eyes widened. It's Lieutenant Gu Miaomiao, you jinx. Frustrated, she couldn't refuse, so she reluctantly answered. Gu Qingheng's avatar appeared before them. Lin Miaomiao was startled. A few days ago, when they were reporting on the competition, he had been so energetic. How could he have become so haggard in just a few days? Dark circles under his eyes, his complexion sallow, his beard untidy? Could something have happened to the fleet? Lieutenant Gu, what's wrong with you? Liu Kaoyu exclaimed in surprise. Gu Qingheng, always dressed in a crisp uniform and refined in public, had never appeared so unkempt. Yu Zixin eagerly asked, is there something wrong with the base, or with the Shanyu? Zhu Chen, Feng Liqin, and Lin Miaomiao also pursed their lips, awaiting an answer. No, Gu Qingheng forced a smile. Don't worry, the base is fine, and the captain and the others are doing their mission smoothly. I just have some personal matters to attend to. Personal matters, Lin Miaomiao frowned. Judging from his expression, something bad must have happened. He was smiling, but it looked uglier than crying. Could something have happened at home? Gu Qingheng hadn't wanted to say it, but seeing Lin Miaomiao's worry, he sighed. Miaomiao, Xia Oren is gone. Xia Oren is gone. Where did she go? Is there a good hospital to treat her? Lin Miaomiao asked subconsciously, gasping when she realized what he meant. You mean she? The word dead was too heavy for her to say. Xiaoran was so young. Did the doctor say she had at least 3 to 4 years left? How could it be so soon? To get Gu Qingheng to visit the hospital and even accept her, Xiaoran had colluded with her family and the attending physician to exaggerate her condition, making Gu Qingheng believe she had a year to live at most. Later, when she was admitted to the military hospital, her condition was exposed. The incident had become quite a commotion at the time. Even Lin Miaomiao had heard a few rumors. I never expected it. She's so sensitive to pain. She couldn't resist seeing a doctor the last time she lied to me, but this time she'd have the heart to not ring the phone. Gu Qingheng closed his eyes, his lips trembling as he tried to say something but couldn't. Lin Miaomiao understood. This was someone who had a suicidal mindset, someone who would seek death. This realization suddenly filled her with anger. Life was a beautiful thing. She had a family that loved her, and if she could just focus on recuperating, she could live a better life. Why would Xiaoran commit suicide? Death would be fine, all her worries and pain would be gone. But how painful would the living be? Take Gu Qingheng, for example. His haggard appearance revealed a depth of his self-blame. Ye Hongwen had mentioned some of what happened between Xiaoran and Gu Qingheng. Trying to use his own health as leverage to tie his beloved to him was a despicable act. After hearing about it, Lin Miaomiao deleted Xiaoran's contact ID from Star Network. And now, Xiaoran actually left this world by suicide. Qingheng must be blaming himself and regretting it. This was a deep scar cut into his heart with his life. He will have such a scar in his heart for the rest of his life, and it will bleed if touched. Kinkyu, Lin Miaomiao did not intend to comfort him with those pale words, but said calmly in an indifferent tone, "This matter has nothing to do with you. You don't have to care, and you can't care. How can I not care?" Gu Qingheng smiled bitterly. After Xiaoran left, Xiao's parents hung up the video call with him immediately, asking him what he thought of their daughter. And why he ignored her for several months, saying that he forced her to death. "Why should you care?" Lin Miaomiao shouted in a raised voice. "She doesn't care herself. What's the point of you caring so much? Gu Qingheng, you are not related to her, and you don't owe her anything." But her parents said that it was because I didn't comfort her and wasn't with her that made her feel uneasy and did stupid things. Chapter 558 Returned to the base early. Liu Gaier and the others had more or less heard of Xiaoran and knew about her situation. After hearing this, they had a pretty good idea of what was going on. They were all amused. Are these people crazy? They didn't take good care of the child and they put the blame on others. Someone has to be pulled out to take responsibility. They don't want to take it themselves, so the deputyship was pulled out, Yu Zixin said disdainfully. And they still say they're family friends? I think they should just break up. Gu Qingheng laughed self-deprecatingly. It's almost like they're broken up now. No way, then your so-called family friendship is too fragile. It's better not to have it, Lin Miaomiao thought. It was better to fall out now than to find out later when something big happened that they were unreliable. Okay, let's not talk about this. That's not why I came to you, Gu Qingheng said with a casual tone. I have something to do tomorrow. I have to finish organizing all the recruits' information today. I need help. Lin Miaomiao reflexively looked at Liu Gaier. Just when she jokingly asked her to go back to help, Kinkyu actually came to her door. This was fate. Yu Zixin laughed. Deputy Manager Liu, hurry up and buy the tickets and go back to work early. Gaier, do you need to pack your things? Or should I go to Star Network to book a ticket for you? Fang Licken was very understanding. You guys, Liu Gaier stomped her feet. They were all bad guys, teaming up to bully her. Only Zuchen is the most kind. Gaier, you think too much? Zuchen said expressionlessly. I'm just thinking about whether I should send you out now. Liu Gaier, I'm so tired. If everyone bullies me like this, how can I still have fun? Just as Liu Gaier's eyes welled with tears from the bullying, Gu Qingheng, who had been ignored for a long time, coughed softly and said, things are quite complicated. I'm afraid one person coming back won't be able to help much. The five of them asked in unison, what do you mean by deputy captain? What I mean is, there's not much left at the second military academy, and there won't be much to do later. Just choose one person to stay, just one person. Lin Miaomiao's brows knitted together. She was trying to figure out how to secure the spot. She had also wanted to stay at the Lin family mansion for a few more days. But before she could come up with a plan, Gu Qingheng cruelly shattered her fantasy. Miaomiao must return. Many areas of the fleet require administrative access. If I'm not here tomorrow, they won't be able to enter the captain's room. Lin Miaomiao was frustrated. Only the captain could set permissions for the captain's room. Of the hundreds of people on the Shenyu, only 3 had free access. Even Luo Cheng and the other team leaders didn't have access. Lin Miaomiao's access was simply because she had connections. Now, with this, she had to go back even if she didn't want to. But he felt a certain reluctance. Kinkyu, why are you leaving the base at this critical moment? Gu Qingheng was silent for a few seconds, then said with a touch of sadness, tomorrow is Ioran's funeral. I want to go and see her off. For all these years, I've truly treated her like my own sister. What? He actually had to go to the funeral? Lin Miaomiao was puzzled. They treated you like this, and you're still going to get scolded. Aren't you afraid of being harassed at the funeral? I'll go. My conscience is clear. Why should I be afraid of their harassment? Gu Qinghang pursed his lips. The relationship between the Gu and Xia families can't be severed just because of this. I believe Grandpa Xia is a reasonable person. Lin Miaomiao understood. It was Xia Ren's parents who were blaming him, and Grandpa Xia probably had no idea. If he didn't go to the funeral, everyone would think he was guilty, and the old friendship would be ruined. It's settled. Licken will stay here to handle the funeral, and the four of us will go back, Liu Kaoyu announced the result authoritatively. Feng Licken and Zhu Chen didn't care, only Yu Zixin was very dissatisfied. I want to stay here too. Liu Kaoyu was shocked, and looked at her with a look of you are being unreasonable again. How can you bear to let your boyfriend go with us? What the hell are you talking about? I don't have a boyfriend, Yu Zixin said arrogantly. Zhu Chen rubbed his forehead and said helplessly, Axin, stop it. Is it necessary to quarrel over a stranger? Why is everything I do nonsense? Yu Zixin was unhappy. She is not even a stranger. Her eyes were almost falling on you just now. Shut up, Gu Qinghang shouted unbearably. Just follow Kaoyu's assignment. Except for Licken, the four of you hurry back and catch the passenger ship at 1 p.m. The matter was finalized. Lin Miaomiao felt a little regretful. If it weren't for such an incident, she could still go home and stay for 10 more days or half a month. The warship that picked her up had set the Milulan 2nd Military Academy as the last stop. After hanging up the video call, no one was in the mood to sort out the application forms. Those who needed to go back home went back to their rooms to pack their things, and Feng Licken became the ticket booking specialist. After the matter was settled, Lin Miaomiao and the other three took a taxi to the cruise ship. Even on board, Yu Zixin had no intention of stopping his nagging, saying that it was unfair. She was getting impatient and said coldly, if you keep nagging like that, I will recommend you to do anything that needs to be done alone in the future. No, Yu Zixin choked. I just said a few more words. Is there any need to be so harsh? What do you think? Lin Miaomiao glared at him with her big, clear black and white eyes. Today is already depressing enough, and you still want to stop? Well, Yu Zixin felt that he shouldn't have sat next to Lin Miaomiao out of spite. If he sat with Zhu Chen, it wouldn't matter if he nagged 1,000 times. The Cold War was too uncomfortable. Why not make peace with Zhu Chen? Glancing secretly at the back seat, Yu Zixin was thinking about what excuse he could use to switch seats with Liu Kaoyu, and then he heard Zhu Chen say, actually, we were also affected by Miaomiao this time. Ah, Lin Miaomiao turned back innocently. Why is it related to me again? Zhu Chen smiled faintly. It's not that there is no one in the fleet who can help. It's just that after the deputy captain left, no one else had the authority to enter the captain's room, so they came to us, or to be more precise, to find you. Liu Kaoyu and Yu Zixin nodded in succession. This was the fact, and they were just shouting back. So you have to compensate us, Yu Zixin said fiercely. Yes, you must compensate, Liu Kaoyu echoed. Zhu Chen didn't say anything, but his eyes were clearly full of approval. Under siege, Lin Miaomiao could no longer bear it. Alright, what compensation do you want? Cook us a feast, the three answered in unison, and then Yu Zixin added, we'll cook a special meal until the new recruits arrive. Lin Miaomiao was speechless. They were all waiting here, so why were they pushing all the responsibility onto her? Forget it, it's just cooking. Can we just not eat in the cafeteria until we can resume normal training? Chapter 559 Delicious Juice. The passenger ship arrived at 1 p.m., and it wasn't until a little after 6 o'clock when they arrived back at Shaoyin Star. Lin Miaomiao and the other three didn't even eat before boarding their flying car and rushing back to base before 8 o'clock. Everyone was exhausted and hungry, wanting to return to their rooms to rest or find food, but Gu Qinghang kept urging them to go to the captain's quarters to avoid delays. The four had no choice but to drink a nutrient supplement for dinner and then rush to the captain's quarters. Because Gu Qinghang was working inside, Lin Miaomiao didn't use her authority to open the door directly. Instead, she pressed the doorbell, and the door swung open from the inside. Lieutenant Captain Gu, the four called out in unison. Gu Qinghang nodded. You're back so soon? Sit on the sofa for a while. With that, he walked out the door. The four were startled, then noticed he was video chatting with someone. The man was middle-aged, probably around 60 years old, and his features bore a resemblance to Gu Qingheng. Lin Miaomiao guessed he was his father or uncle. Perhaps fearing they'd be kept waiting, Gu Qingheng, who had gone out to answer the video call, returned a few minutes later. His expression was increasingly fatigued, but his mood seemed brighter. He took a few bottles of apple juice from the small refrigerator in the captain's room and placed them in front of Lin Miaomiao and the other three, then sat down on a single sofa. "Thank you for your hard work. I asked you to come back right after finishing work," Gu Qingheng said gently. "Have some juice to calm you down." Liu Kaoyer and Yu Zixin unceremoniously gulped down the juice, mumbling a mumbled "Thank you, Lieutenant Captain." The juices in the captain's room safe were all natural, unadulterated. A single bottle would cost hundreds of credits at the supermarket, but for foodies who could only afford watered-down drinks, they were incredibly delicious. Lin Miaomiao's space button had already been filled with a good supply of these juices, delivered by Yi's mother. She usually shared them with her friends, but the two foodies were like bottomless pits, never getting enough. After being away from base for over half a month on this mission, her supply had long since been completely depleted. Seeing the two over-the-top eaters' actions, Zhu Chen, fearing Gu Qingheng might be watching, said with a smile, "Deputy Captain, please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you. We'll be unsure how to proceed tomorrow without you." "That's not urgent," Gu Qingheng said with a faint smile. "The number and list of new recruits haven't been submitted yet, so we'll have to wait a while." "Oh, okay," Zhu Chen paused. He was known for his calm demeanor, but his age made it difficult for him to find a conversation with an unfamiliar officer. He smiled and picked up the juice in front of him as a cover-up. As soon as he picked it up, he realized he'd made a mistake. Yu Zixin, holding an empty bottle, stared at him eagerly. If he hadn't said he wanted to have a Cold War that morning, he would have pounced on him to grab it. Zhu Chen, amused and wanting to tease him, unscrewed the cap and slowly brought the bottle to his lips. Yu Zixin's face instantly darkened, his eyes blazing as he glared at Zhu Chen's actions. "Ah Zin, what's wrong with you?" Zhu Chen stopped and smiled. "Are you feeling unwell looking at me like that? Don't you dislike drinking juice?" Yu Zixin reminded him in a way he thought was subtle. "No," Zhu Chen pretended to be confused, and after a few seconds he said as if he suddenly realized something, "Ah, I forgot, the juice is too sweet, I don't like it very much." Yu Zixin was overjoyed, and was about to say proudly that he could help, but Gu Qingheng intervened. "Ashen doesn't like drinking juice, then I'll change a bottle of mineral water for you, Yu Zixin." Zhu Chen was also stunned, and after noticing the teasing in the deputy captain's eyes, he realized it, and pretended to be embarrassed and said, "No, I have already opened the bottle cap." "That's a problem," Gu Qingheng pondered and said, "Why don't you give it to Miaomiao? Her bottle hasn't been opened anyway." "No," Yu Zixin blurted out, and after he said that, he felt that his reaction seemed to be too great, so he smiled and found an excuse. "Ashen has already put it to her mouth. Who knows if it will be stained with saliva? It's not appropriate for her to drink it." Everyone was upset. In order to drink an extra bottle of juice, he really tried his best. He actually lied with his eyes open in front of everyone. The position where Zhu Chen held the juice was still far from his mouth. Gu Qingheng was just feeling down and looking for some fun. Seeing Yu Zixin had put so much effort into it, he naturally said nothing more and just nodded, saying, "Ah Zin, what you said makes sense. So, help me solve it." Hearing this, Yu Zixin's tail immediately turned upside down. He snatched the juice from Zhu Chen's hand and gulped it down. While he drank happily, Liu Kaoyer was unhappy. She didn't drink enough either. There were two unopened bottles on the coffee table. One was in front of Gu Qingheng, so she didn't dare to grab it. The other one belonged to Lin Miaomiao. Liu Kaoyer rolled her eyes and decided to take it for herself. "Miaomiao, you're not thirsty now, are you?" Liu Kaoyer said with a flattering smile. "You usually drink juice like this, so you must be tired of it. Let me help you solve the problem, right?" Lin Miaomiao's lips curled up slightly. "I'm not tired of it." Liu Kaoyer's face fell. Miaomiao was too disrespectful. It was just a bottle of juice. What was the big deal if she gave it to her? But after being rejected, she was too embarrassed to ask for it again, so she stared at her with resentful eyes. "Okay, it's just a bottle of juice. You look like you haven't had a drink in hundreds of years," Lin Miaomiao found amused. "If you want it, drink it." With her words, Liu Kaoyer immediately cheered up and quickly took the juice, as if she was afraid she would regret it. At this moment, Gu Qingheng's communicator rang. It was the notification sound of receiving a file. It beat several times in a row before stopping. After the new messages disappeared, Gu Qingheng checked his communicator and smiled. It's from Feng Liken. She's already sorted out the information and numbers of the new recruits you've recruited. Wow, Liken's pretty quick, Yu Zixin said, surprised. Since the four of them had returned, Lin Miaomiao and Zhu Chen had originally planned to make copies of the information and sort it out back at the base. However, Yu Zixin, upset about not getting the remaining spots, persuaded everyone to leave the work to Feng Liken. According to Yu Zixin, they were incredibly busy back at the base, and Feng Liken only needed to sort out the information at school. So she didn't need their help. Lin Miaomiao was happy to ignore it, letting it slide. Feng Liken wasn't angry, but she kept glaring at the idiot who couldn't stand her idleness, clearly holding a grudge. Poor Yu Zixin, so consumed with the joy of getting revenge on Feng Liken, the big winner, he didn't even notice he was being held responsible. Lin Miaomiao gave him a sympathetic look, then turned to Gu Qingheng and said, "Should we get started? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels." Chapter 560, Traitor Appears. Lin Miaomiao assumed it was time to get back to work now that the data was back, but Gu Qingheng wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he glanced out the door and turned on the supercomputer on his desk. "I'll only need to go to tomorrow's funeral for the whole morning. You're a large group, so there's no rush to do it now," Gu Qingheng said gently. "I just have something else I need your help with." "What is it?" "Look," Gu Qingheng said, turning the computer screen around so they could see the footage. The four of them looked closely and saw a scene on the first floor of the office building. Two figures in plain black pants, their heads bowed, entered the elevator. After the elevator started, Gu Qingheng switched the surveillance footage again, this time showing the corridor outside the captain's room. The captains who usually frequented the office building were absent, and the corridor was empty, devoid of any human presence, looking eerily deserted. But then, the elevator suddenly pulled up, and two dark figures approached stealthily. Yu Zixin was the first to lose his temper. "Captain, who are these two? Why are they dressed like this?" Gu Qingheng smiled faintly. "Actually, I'm not entirely sure. The surveillance cameras in this building suddenly broke down a few days ago. Thankfully, Captain Yi had the foresight to install a few widget surveillance cameras in the dark, otherwise, he wouldn't have known thieves could break in here. These two are very familiar with this place." Zhu Chen frowned. Although the top floor was the captain's domain, it was divided into several areas: a small reception room, a conference room, a lounge, and the captain's room. Yet, they came straight here without even exploring. Liu Kao's eyes widened. Could they be acquaintances? They should be from our fleet. I remember the protective shield surrounding the base was activated after Shen Yu left on her mission, Lin Miaomiao said, a little unhappy. Shen Yu's base was her second home. Who on earth would be so reckless as to do such a wicked thing? Yes, the captain took over 100 men on a mission, and you went to recruit another 60 or 70. Only 20 or 30 are left at the base, but unfortunately, none of them are familiar to me, Gu Qingheng said with a wry smile. That slightly smaller guy looks quite skilled, but I'm not sure I can win two against one. He wasn't sure which of the remaining men at the base were reliable, and he didn't dare risk asking for help. So he thought of Liu Gadier, whose skills were said to be even better than Liu Yifui's, and with her help, he'd feel more confident. Oh, no wonder the lieutenant commander wouldn't even let us back to the dorms. He probably wants us to help catch the traitor, Liu Gadier drawled, her mood now best described as boastful. Upon returning to the fleet, they headed straight for the office building. They didn't encounter any teammates along the way, and aside from the robot guard in the gate, no one knew they had returned. That's right, Gu Qingheng said calmly, I'm not the kind of person who would try to break through the lock with an egg. When I encounter something dangerous, I naturally have to find a way to ensure my own safety, then how will they get in? Is there a way to crack the access block here? Yu Zixin was so excited that he wanted to help the two people who were whispering to each other outside to open the door. Gu Qingheng was speechless. He didn't know the answer to this question. The two people only walked back and forth on the first floor a few times last time, as if testing whether they had a backup plan. They didn't go to the top floor at all, so he didn't know how to answer. Just when he was feeling awkward, Lin Miaomiao nonchalantly came to his rescue. Zin, you're so noisy. If you want to know how they opened the door, just wait and see. It's impossible to crack it anyway. The door lock with access control can only be opened by the authorized person when he's awake. Others who want to enter can only use brute force to break it, but that will set off an alarm. The people outside are so sneaky that they will definitely not use rough means to open the door. And indeed, things unfolded just as they had imagined. After the stealthy duo finished their discussion, the taller one turned a corner and hid, while the smaller one walked to the door and rang the bell. After ringing the bell, she looked up. Everyone stared intently. It's her. I thought she'd behaved after being demoted to level 3 mecha operator, but I didn't expect it was just wishful thinking, Lin Miaomiao sneered. I just don't know what she's up to today. It turned out that the one ringing the doorbell was Shengrunan, who had been injured during the qualifying rounds. Since returning from the hospital, she had skipped training and the day's activities, remaining secluded in her dorm. Given the severity of her injuries and her future as a level 3 mecha operator, Yi Hongwen and the other senior officers of the fleet decided to give her some time off, believing training was meaningless for her. Lin Miaomiao had run into her in the cafeteria before, and while there had been no harsh words exchanged, they simply ignored each other, as if they had returned to their former state of strangers. Whatever she wants to do, she won't succeed while we're here today. Liu Kaoye rubbed her chin, puzzled. The captain said she's quite skilled, but we haven't seen her fight since we joined the fleet. Could she be a hidden talent? She didn't know how her skills compared to her own, but she hoped she could have a good fight. She hadn't had a good fight in a long time. As for whether or not to use mechas, she wasn't worried at all. Shengrunan was only a level 3 mecha operator, and even if she were level 5, it wouldn't be of much use. If she boarded a mecha in the base, the robot guards would rush over immediately, alerting the remaining personnel, which would only lead to a quick defeat. The doorbell rang for a long time, but there was no movement from inside. Shengrunan was not discouraged and kept pressing the bell. After a few minutes, Gu Qinghang finally got up and said, I'll go open the door. You two can hide and watch first. Liu Kaoye was excited to see the prey, and her mind was full of thoughts about fighting. She asked in confusion, why do you want to hide? Lin Miaomiao got up and pulled her up. The deputy captain wants to see what she is going to do. Although the captain's room is large, there may not be many places to hide. Lin Miaomiao looked around and pulled her to squat behind the large desk. Zhu Chen and Yu Zixin squeezed into the bathroom awkwardly. Gu Qinghang opened the door and asked with a feigned surprise, It's so late, what's the matter with Ruanan? Shengrunan glanced around the room briefly and said with a hint of sadness, Deputy Captain. I have something to discuss with you. Can I come in and talk? Sure. Gu Qinghang gestured as if to invite her in. Please sit on the sofa. After she entered, Gu Qinghang moved sideways as if to close the door, but his eyes were focused on her next move. Sure enough, at the moment the door was about to close, a sudden resistance from outside pushed it open, and Shengrunan had already taken out a longsword and was stabbing at him. Seeing the longsword about to pierce his back, Gu Qinghang ducked to avoid it. Shengrunan, as if she had anticipated this, flicked her wrist, and calmly changed her move and stabbed downwards. Another man in black also slipped in and closed the door with a click. Chapter 561, Collusion. Although Gu Qinghang wasn't particularly skilled, he had practiced military boxing for several years after joining the fleet. He rolled forward on the ground, barely dodging the second attack and approaching the desk. At this point, Gu Qinghang felt confident. Before the two men could catch up, he jumped up swiftly and said vigilantly, Shengrunan, Zhang Xingyan, what do you want to do? The four people in hiding were stunned. How could it be Zhang Xingyan? Even though they had no contact now, they couldn't believe that their former companion would actually want to betray the fleet. Could there be some misunderstanding? Liu Kaoye wanted to get up immediately to ask, but just as she was about to stand, Lin Miaomiao reached out and grabbed her, opened the communicator, typed a few lines of text in front of her, and said, Let's take a look first. We won't be able to get anything out of you if we go out. Liu Kaoye regained her composure at this moment, nodded, squatted back in her original position, and listened attentively. Deputy Captain, we have no ill intentions, Shengrunan said in a hoarse voice. I just think that a small fleet like Shen Yu can't even accommodate the old team members. so there is no need to recruit new ones. Gu Qinghang's smile faded and he said calmly, this is not something you can decide. Our base is very large. As long as someone is truly good for the fleet, we will definitely be able to accommodate them. Nonsense, Sheng Ruinan said sternly. Look at what I look like now, and think about the life I'm living now. Is this what you mean by being able to accommodate? You did this yourself. Bullying and framing your companions, and using banned drugs, any of which can meet the standard for expulsion from the military. You are lucky to be here now. No, I'm not wrong. You forced me to do it. Sheng Ruinan stared at him madly, and Lin Miaomiao, it's her fault. Why a recruiter into the fleet? If there were no new recruits joining the fleet, I would stay here. Well, Gu Qinghang frowned. He suspected Sheng Ruinan wasn't in a good mental state, and he was afraid asking wouldn't reveal anything. Turning to Zhang Xingyan, he asked, you, too, don't want the fleet to recruit new members and continue to grow? No, I want the fleet to continue to grow, Zhang Xingyan said sternly. But only if the captain isn't Yi Hongwen. Gu Qinghang was speechless. What luck had Miaomiao and Yi Hongwen gotten to have, that they both cared about them? Of course, the two of them were also incredibly strange. The person they clearly hated was the other's favorite, yet they could actually reach a cooperation agreement. It was simply unrealistic. But none of that mattered. What mattered most now was what you came up with tonight yourselves, or was it someone else's plan? We were the ones who came up with it, Sheng Ruinan said. It's because you're so hated, Zhang Xingyan said. After answering, they were stunned. They exchanged glances and chided in unison, stop talking nonsense, don't imitate me, they continued, accusing him in unison. After several consecutive moments of tacit agreement, both the men fell silent. After a long pause, Zhang Xingyan cleared his throat and said, we were merely accomplices, not the masterminds. Why are you putting the blame on yourself? Sheng Ruinan chuckled, you're such a scoundrel. If you didn't want to do this, how could you be bribed? I wasn't bribed. I just don't like the fleet having a captain who abuses his power for personal gain, Zhang Xingyan said, his face flushed, his eyes blazing with anger. You're incapable of keeping a fickle woman in check, yet you blame others for their abilities. You're truly cowardly, you're the fickle one. Miaomiao was just momentarily bewitched by him. I believe she'll come to her senses. Actions speak louder than words. Just a simple question, yet it triggered a feud between the two accomplices. Such a situation was truly unexpected. Gu Qinghang, originally feeling heavy-hearted, was amused at this moment. These two, unable to reach a consensus, were so eager to harm others. It was hilarious. I say, aren't you tired of standing? Why don't you sit on the sofa and argue? Gu Qinghang walked slowly to the office chair and sat down, crossing his legs and pretending to watch the show. Unfortunately, his suggestion was not appreciated, but reminded the two people who had forgotten the occasion and started arguing. Sheng Ruinan shook his wrist slightly, pointed the long sword straight ahead, and strode towards Gu Qinghang. Since you refuse to cooperate, then die. Gu Qinghang chuckled, dodging the attack while wondering, you don't think that killing me can stop the new recruits from coming in, do you? Or do you want to cause chaos in the garrison and prevent Yi Hongwen from completing the task of delivering military uniforms with peace of mind? No one answered his question. The only response to him was the increasingly sharp long sword. Gu Qinghang didn't care. He didn't think that this would lead to an answer. However, he didn't stop, but continued to talk. Actually, you've been fooled. Even if something really happens to me, no one will care about the issue of receiving new recruits for a while, but Yi Hongwen will be back sooner or later, and the files of the new recruits have been transferred to the fleet. They are Shen Yu's soldiers, and it doesn't matter if we go to pick them up later, the new recruits will come in anyway, and Yi Hongwen will be fine, because he is not in the fleet. If something happens, it will be my fault as the deputy captain. And Lin Miaomiao will be fine. After all, she is just a kitchen manager and is not on the fleet. They will still be sweet and happy in the fleet by then, but you will be miserable. You will probably have to be friends for life in Star Prison, the kind that dislike each other but can grow old together. Some people look gentle and elegant, but they are actually black-bellied. When they need to be poisonous, they can make people angry to death. Especially since he is not good at fighting but is good at dodging. He was attacked for a long time but was not hurt at all. Sheng Ruinan was already irritated by the prolonged attack, and the infuriating words she heard made her unable to endure it any longer. She turned around and yelled at Zhang Xingyan, "You're a dead man. Don't forget that we did this together. If we give him a chance to turn things around, we'll both be in big trouble." Zhang Xingyan sneered. "Aren't you quite capable? Why do you need my help, you bastard? Do you even know what you're doing? It's too late to regret it at this point. You're overthinking it." "I don't regret it," Zhang Xingyan said grimly. He also understood that things had reached this point and there was no room for regret. If he killed the man in front of him, Shen Yu would be in chaos without a leader. The delay in recruiting would give other fleets plenty of opportunities to evacuate. It was just a matter of shifting gears. If the recruits hadn't been picked up yet, it was natural for them to jump ship. By the time Yi Hongwen completed his mission and returned, it would be too late to save the situation. Now that he has gotten involved, he can only do his best to eliminate the enemy and try to clear himself of all the issues without anyone knowing. Chapter 562, Dying Struggle and Throwing Dirty Water. Zhang Xingyan disliked Sheng Ruinen's arrogance, but he also knew they couldn't delay any longer. While they could temporarily disable the surveillance system, the security robots would eventually detect something was amiss. To complete the mission and escape unscathed, they had to eliminate Gu Qingheng as soon as possible. With this in mind, he pulled out an iron rod and, gritted his teeth, charged at the two men fighting. "My apologies, Lieutenant Captain. You're the one who's unaware of the situation." Liu Kai'er, who had initially been incredulous about her former friend's viciousness, was disappointed. Miaomiao was right, people's hearts are fickle. If he could do such a thing, he had to bear the consequences. After Yu Zixin took action, Lin Miaomiao finally released her grip on Liu Kai'er. "Let's get started. Let's get this over with. We can still go back and rest." Liu Kai'er nodded, stood up, and rushed towards Sheng Ruinen, who was standing at her desk. Slithering left and right, she quickly reached her and snatched the sword from her hand. Sheng Ruinen had a foreboding feeling the moment she heard Lin Miaomiao's voice, but she hadn't anticipated the sword being snatched away so easily in a matter of seconds. Her face paled. Zhang Xingyan, wielding an iron rod at Gu Qingheng, was also stunned. "Aren't you at school? Why are you here?" No one answered his question. Zhu Chen and Yu Zixin had already subdued him from behind, bound him with ropes, and thrown him to the ground without mercy. After his betrayal of Shen Yu, they had been furious and heartbroken, but now calm, they no longer cared. Everyone had the power to make their own choices. Now that the incident had occurred, the innocent friendship of the past was gone. As members of the Shen Yu fleet, they couldn't let a traitor go unpunished because of past friendships. Zhang Xingyan had no experience in self-defense. He had joined Sheng Ruinen simply because he thought he had the advantage in a 2-on-1 situation and could take some of the credit. So it was natural that he was restrained before he could even make a move. Unfortunately, Sheng Ruinen didn't understand. Liu Kai'er had become her rival since her arrival, while Gu Qingheng, whom she'd hoped to defeat, had stood aside and watched. This was difficult for her to accept. Even more difficult was the fact that she, capable of single-handedly taking on several strong men, was no match for Liu Kai'er. Not only had her weapons been taken from her upon first contact, but the rest of the fight was essentially a matter of whimsy. She couldn't win, and not fighting meant surrendering. She was deeply unhappy to be captured like this. "We clearly had this all planned. It's obvious your plan wasn't perfect," Liu Kai'er said with a smile. "You actually gave us the chance to come back and help. You're just stupid. What do you know?" Sheng Ruinen, in her excitement, was slow to react. Liu Kai'er kicked her hard, striking her in the most vulnerable part of her chest and neck, sending her tumbling to the ground with a scream. Even after Liu Kai'er's kick, she didn't rush to restrain her. She hadn't had enough fun yet, and she wasn't willing to stop. If she hadn't been trying to catch the traitor, Gu Qingheng wouldn't have called them back just yet. "Hey, you're such a jerk with such limited skills, yet you dare to do such bad things? No wonder you hid the fact that you learned self-defense before. You were afraid that your mediocre skills wouldn't be enough to defeat others and it would be embarrassing." Sheng Ruinen's chest ached. She didn't get up immediately, but lay on the ground to catch her breath. She was no fool and knew that the current situation was extremely unfavorable for them. Fortunately, they had destroyed the surveillance camera when they came in, and without the surveillance video, they still had a chance to turn things around. Taking advantage of the time to catch her breath, Sheng Ruinen thought carefully for a while, and soon came up with a normal and advantageous rhetoric. In the blink of an eye, she put on a sad and angry expression. "You are too much? Xingyan and I just came to ask the deputy captain for leave today. I didn't expect to run into you. You beat us up and arrested us. Liu Kaoyer was stunned. Are you lying with your eyes open? I'm not lying. Don't forget that you should be in Malulan now, Sheng Ruinan sneered. I don't know why you suddenly came back. The new recruits haven't been picked up yet. You shouldn't be here. There must be a conspiracy. Nonsense, it's obviously you who have the conspiracy. Liu Kaoyer couldn't help but stepped forward and kicked her. You are full of nonsense. When you can't win, you want to throw dirty water. You are really amazing, Kaoyer. Don't be angry. Zhu Chen stopped her action, turned his head and said to Sheng Ruinan, do you think it's useful to go back now? I don't understand what you are talking about. Sheng Ruinan pretended to be stupid. Zhang Xingyuan also came to his senses. Since the task could not be completed, he had to find a way to buy them back, so he also shouted, Ashen, what on earth are you doing? Don't forget the friendship we have built over the years as classmates. Zhu Chen was helpless. You don't really think that the surveillance here has been destroyed and there is no evidence to prove that you have bad intentions and betrayed the fleet? Sheng Ruinan was unmoved. They had already visited the office building at night last time. Although they did not go to the top floor, they were sure that the surveillance was temporarily blocked. As long as they waited for the security robot to come and check, they would be able to turn the tables. You are really confident. Gu Qingheng shook his head and sighed. He casually called up the surveillance recording from the light computer and played it back. He turned the screen towards Zhang Xingyuan. Let me show you, so that you won't be too confident. Zhang Xingyuan's face turned pale. How could this be? Did they say that the surveillance was destroyed? How could there still be a recording? It's no use being unwilling. Your plan has already failed. Lin Miaomiao slowly approached Sheng Ruinan, looking down at her. What do you think the punishment will be for betraying the fleet, especially since you attempted to murder the vice-captain? Sheng Ruinan gritted her teeth and said nothing. It was their fault for not realizing the office building had double surveillance, which had alerted others. If Gu Qingheng had let her in without her knowledge, she could just work with Zhang Xingyuan to take him out. This time, they would definitely cause a major disturbance for Shen Yu. With the vice-captain dead, the remaining team members at the base were ineffective. Yi Hongwen would be too busy with the mission, which would inevitably affect the time it takes to recruit new members. Once other fleets poached their personnel, Shen Yu would easily be absorbed by another fleet, not to mention its growth. Yi Hongwen would also be labeled as unfit for the task, which would not only avenge her but also allow him to join a new fleet and pursue new developments. Unfortunately, it was too late to say anything now. She could only grit her teeth and take all the responsibility. If she didn't implicate the people who helped her, maybe someone would privately help her out because she was sensible. Ashen, Deputy Captain, I was wrong. Please forgive me this time. Zhang Xingyuan begged for mercy when he saw that the situation was not good. I never thought of betraying the fleet. She seduced me. Yes, it was all Sheng Ruinan's fault. She forced me to do it. Sheng Ruinan raised his eyes and looked at Zhang Xingyuan, who was begging for mercy with a pale face. He couldn't help but sneer. These men are really weak. They want to shirk responsibility after doing something wrong. It's not that simple. Chapter 563 Find a strong bodyguard. Sheng Ruinan, you vicious woman, you clearly said at the beginning that we should knock the deputy captain unconscious and destroy all the information about the new recruits he received, but you wanted to kill people to silence them just now. I was dragged into it by you and had to do it. Zhang Xingyuan righteously accused Sheng Ruinan of her viciousness, but then looked at Lin Miaomiao lovingly. It was all because of my stupidity. She said that as long as anything happened to the fleet, the boss would be punished and dismissed by the military, and Shen Yu would be broken up and merged into other fleets. Then she would find a way to transfer you and me to the same fleet. Lin Miaomiao thought it was ridiculous. Yi Hongwen was not on the base, so even if something happened there, it would have nothing to do with him. There was also the matter of the new recruits. He had to continue delivering military uniforms to the fleets and could not get away. But what were the team leaders Luo Cheng doing? Was the number 1 ship just a decoration? I think it's okay for people to be stupid, but it's not good for people who are obviously stupid to act smart, Lin Miaomiao said, watching the surveillance video that had returned to normal. The security robots are coming. If you still want to act, hurry up. You won't be able to act when they get here. I'm not acting. Zhang Xingyuan's eyes were red and tears kept flowing out. I was just too greedy. I knew it was impossible, but I still. Lin Miaomiao shuddered. She realized that she had never really understood Zhang Xingyuan, her classmate of several years. Looking at his current appearance, he was definitely a white lotus. She really wondered if he was born with the wrong gender. Liu Kai'er and the other two also looked unhappy. They looked like they were forced to swallow a pound of garlic raw. The green vegetables were intertwined and it was very exciting. Zhu Chen took a deep breath. Xingyan, if you do something wrong, you should be a man and admit it bravely. Don't cry and make excuses. It's ugly. Yeah, if you can simply admit your mistake, I can convince myself that I was not wrong before, and was just lured into the wrong way. Yu Zixin's face became wrinkled, and it was difficult for him to relax. But she did force me. Zhang Xingyan frantically defended herself. I'm just upset Miaomiao chose the captain. I don't want to be around you anymore. I don't want to see them being so intimate every day. But she said she could help me when Miaomiao back. Shang Ruinan sneered. You believe everything I say? You're just too stupid. Besides, if you hadn't volunteered for what happened today, how could I have brought you here so quietly? At this point, Shang Ruinan's eyes were no longer in panic. She glanced disdainfully at the people standing around in the room, then glared at Zhang Xingyan fiercely. Useless. At this point, there was nothing more to say. Gu Qinghang checked the communicator. It's getting late. We should get some rest. We've caught them anyway, so we can lock them up first. Where should we put them? Lin Miaomiao asked. The detention room. There are plenty of rooms there, and there are lots of security robots patrolling, Gu Qinghang said without hesitation. A flicker of surprise crossed Shang Ruinan's eyes, but Lin Miaomiao, who was watching her closely, caught it. Soon, the security robots arrived to check on the surveillance. And Gu Qinghang handed Shang Ruinan and the other two over to them and locked them up in the confinement room. After they were taken away, Gu Qinghang wanted to take the others back to the dorms, but Lin Miaomiao said, since there are 2 traitors in the fleet, there's no guarantee there won't be a third. I think we should strictly guard the confinement room tonight. That's right. I heard something was off about Shang Ruinan in the confinement room just now, as if she was happy to be locked up there, Zhu Chen agreed. No way, Liu Kao's eyes widened. Could someone rescue them? Lin Miaomiao laughed. Why not? Shang Ruinan knows a lot. If there's a 3rd or 4th traitor in this fleet, she's bound to know them. If they're afraid of being exposed, they'll definitely take action tonight, but whether it was to save them or harm them was unclear. She wasn't as naive as Shang Ruinan. After all, once the traitor's identity was exposed, it would be difficult to leave the base. Only the robot guards guarding the gate had the authority to open a small hole in the protective shield. Anyone who could escape would have to control those robot guards. However, that was impossible. The robotic guards only obeyed the orders of the fleet's top brass. Controlling them through extraordinary means was impossible. Their intelligent hubs were equipped with self-destruct devices, set to fire at the slightest intrusion. The fact that the surveillance equipment in this building can be controlled means they have virtual network experts helping them. The protection of the confinement room is probably just a thin layer of paper for them, easily pierced. Gu Qinghang nodded in agreement. Looks like I won't be able to sleep tonight. Why not? Just go to sleep, Lin Miaomiao said with a slight smile. It's better not to do something as boring as keeping watch. It's too much, but if there are still people, they will definitely take action tonight, Gu Qinghang said with a wry smile. We can't let them take them away or kill them, just find them a bodyguard, Lin Miaomiao said confidently. Bodyguard? Gu Qinghang subconsciously glanced at Liu Kai'er. She was the most skilled person here. Was she going to keep watch? No, it's too dangerous to go alone. We don't even know how many people there are. I think we should act together. I'm not talking about Kai'er, Lin Miaomiao said, not wanting her friends to risk it alone. The bodyguard I'm talking about is Changqing. With him, we'll definitely be safe. Everyone was stunned. Changqing, a level 6 mutant vine, had taken up residence in an uninhabited area outside the base. The space was spacious, and while the soil wasn't fertile, it had plenty of sunlight and water. Miaomiao, why don't we take turns keeping watch? Gu Qinghang said, still a little hesitant. Changqing was kind, but after all, it was an alien, and he wasn't sure it would obey. Even tigers nap sometimes. It would be bad if we weren't paying attention and let the bad guys pass, Lin Miaomiao said maliciously. I want to sleep well tonight, so let Changqing play with the bad guys. Being bound by a level 6 alien plant for a whole night would probably be an experience they would remember for the rest of their lives. That's great, Liu Kao's eyes lit up. She couldn't wait to see the scene of plans fighting against the bad guys. It must be very interesting. Are you sure you can convince Chang Qing to help? Gu Qingheng hesitated. When they were in the underground palace, Chang Qing did listen to her, but after returning to the base for a few months, would the alien plant still be so obedient? Of course, it has always been very obedient. I believe it is happy. Lin Miaomiao was very confident. Gu Qingheng thought for a while and said, okay, without further ado, let's go and bring it back now. Before midnight, the security robot started the combat patrol mode again to check whether there was any problem with the surveillance in various places. It should be the safest time tonight, and they can also safely go to the outskirts of the base to bring Chang Qing back. Chapter 564 Chang Qing's Unique Skills. The inner perimeter of the base was linked by energy-efficient streetlights, making everything as bright as day. However, the outer perimeter was completely dark. Lin Miaomiao and the other four walked out of the inner perimeter and boarded their flying cars, speeding towards a wasteland in the corner. Since the outer perimeter was usually uninhabited, they weren't worried about crashing. As they neared the outer perimeter wall, a strange sound reached their ears. A sad female voice said, "It's not a sleepless night, dear. Why haven't you come back yet? Could it be, you slept with someone else again?" A deep and powerful male voice scolded, "What are you thinking about in your head all day long? I just went out for a social event. Isn't it normal to go home late? Then why do you smell like a strange perfume?" The sad female voice rose a few degrees. "Don't think I don't know whose perfume this is. I'm not a fool. Don't let your imagination run wild." The male voice softened instantly. "I accidentally bumped into someone while socializing tonight. I must have been infected then." "You are talking nonsense, believe it or not." The softness disappeared, and the male voice was full of impatience. "You are suspicious all day long. It's annoying to come back. Damn it, don't go back if you're annoyed." A delicate female voice came out of nowhere. "Stay with me tonight." Except for Lin Miaomiao, everyone in the flying car was a little surprised and suspicious. There should be no one outside the base. How can there be human voices? Gu Qingheng thought more. The base was almost empty during this period. The inner protective shield was opened. Except for the military family building, security robots rarely patrolled the periphery. Could it be that a thief took the opportunity to sneak into the base? "Of course, we have to catch them," Liu Kaoyer said fiercely with a fist clenched. "We must not let go of those who took advantage of the situation. Who knows what bad things they might be up to." "You think too much?" Lin Miaomiao's voice was filled with an imperceptible smile. "This area is occupied by Chang Qing. It will never let others invade its territory." "Yes, I almost forgot about this." Liu Kaoyer was confused. "Then what's going on? Is it a ghost?" Liu Kaoyer felt sick when she thought of such an unscientific thing. Not only her, but everyone else also put on a constipated face, as if they had seen something they shouldn't have seen. Lin Miaomiao's stomach ached from laughing. "Stop guessing. Just go over and take a look and you'll know. I guarantee there's nothing supernatural going on." Liu Kaoyer believed him, her expression instantly brightening. "What the hell is going on, Miaomiao? Don't keep us in suspense." It wasn't until they reached a corner that they learned the truth. Chang Qing was waving vines, playing a role-playing game. "Oh my god, Chang Qing is amazing." Yu Zixin wiped the sweat from his forehead. "He can even use all sorts of voices to talk. If he could transform, he'd have plenty of food and clothing with his superb ventriloquism." "That's amazing," Liu Kaoyer said, overcome with excitement. "If I had him tell stories, he'd be incredibly lifelike. But how does he do that?" "Because he spends his time watching TV dramas. There was a new movie called The King of Ventriloquism that came out a while ago, and he saw it several times and got hooked on ventriloquism," Lin Miaomiao explained. After returning from Energy Star, Lin Miaomiao searched the outskirts of the base and found this secluded spot to raise Chang Qing. Because the soil on Shaoyin Star wasn't fertile enough, she worried the vine would wither from malnutrition if it grew too long, so she would regularly fertilize it. Once Chang Qing had adjusted to the environment, she began to complain. Back on Energy Star, busy escorting exotic beasts up the cliffs and into the underground palace, it hadn't found life difficult. But now, with nothing to do, its days were spent basking in the sun or the moon, or exposed to the wind and rain. It was incredibly boring. The complaints had so many that Lin Miaomiao had to buy this simple communicator and teach it to watch Star movies and Star TV series, and also how to send video messages to her. Of course, Chang Qing insisted on giving it this device, saying they could keep in touch if anything happened. She didn't believe a vine would have anything serious to say to her, but figuring it out wasn't a big deal. She decided to just teach it. Mentioning Chang Qing's good deeds had Lin Miaomiao bursting with emotion, and she couldn't help but engage in a conversation with Liu Kaoyu and Yu Zixin. Seeing their joy, Gu Qinghang could only smile wryly. Was he the only one who had forgotten their purpose? Luckily, there was the reliable Zhu Chen. Seeing their friends forgetting their business, he cleared his throat and reminded them, Miaomiao, shouldn't we get down to business? Lin Miaomiao blinked. How could she have forgotten? Just then, Yu Ten noticed someone approaching and stopped role-playing, so he said, let's go. Chang Qing should be having a good time. We won't get whipped if we disturb him now. Liu Kaoyu looked at her with disdain. She spoke so convincingly, completely tarnishing Chang Qing's reputation. Seeing Chang Qing's unique ventriloquism skills, Liu Kaoyu became his die-hard fan, throwing their friendship aside. Lin Miaomiao didn't have time to notice Liu Kaoyu's look. She quickly drove the Changqing main vine over to meet him and flattered him in her tender, childish voice. Why are you patrolling the mountain in the middle of the night? Yes, I need your help with something, Lin Miaomiao said calmly. When is it? Tell me. If I have time, I'll help you. Hearing that he needed help, Changqing immediately became arrogant. Just a reward what? She usually paid for fertilizer and food for him, but now she was acting like a big shot just to ask for help, and even asked for a reward. It was simply wishful thinking. Suppressing the urge to get on the mecha and beat it up, Lin Miaomiao asked coldly, what reward do you want? Since you feed it frequently, I'll give you 200 bags of top-grade fertilizer, Chang Qing said generously, and also made a request, I want the light blue crystalline one. The yellow one smells too bad. Smells bad? Then I won't feed you any more in the future, Lin Miaomiao responded in the same cold tone. Chang Qing fell silent. It finally realized that something was wrong with Lin Miaomiao's attitude. After thinking for a long time, it realized, is the king angry? How could that be? Lin Miaomiao forced out an ugly smile. Chang Qing even knows to ask for compensation for helping others. He has really grown up. Chang Qing waved his vines and whispered, isn't that how it is played in Star TV dramas? You get paid for helping others, that's right. Lin Miaomiao nodded. There is no such thing as getting something for nothing in this world. Now that you have grown up and become sensible, you can earn your own compensation. I won't have to feed you fertilizer in the future. No, I was wrong, Chang Qing decisively retorted, I just wanted to play a joke on you, the king. I definitely didn't mean to ask for compensation. Are you sure? Lin Miaomiao asked seriously. I am sure, Chang Qing answered firmly. Chapter 565 You are all bad people. With Chang Qing swearing and cursing, Lin Miaomiao reluctantly believed that it was just joking and was not really asking her for payment. Okay, forget it this time. If I ask you for help in the future and you ask for compensation, I won't bother to pay you. Chang Qing's heart was bleeding. It didn't matter whether Lin Miaomiao paid attention to it or not. The important thing was that the weekly fertilization could not be cancelled, so it had to shake the vines to say, if you have any problems, just tell me. As long as I can help, I will definitely help. This was what Lin Miaomiao wanted it to say. She immediately brought up the matter of taking it to be a bodyguard for the two of them. Just go and look after them for a few nights, ensure their safety, and don't let anyone take them away. No, this is absolutely not possible. Chang Qing refused hurriedly. I finally took root, and now I'm pulled out again. What if the roots are torn off? It has to be done. Lin Miaomiao's patience was worn out. She felt that persuading in a nice way seemed to be ineffective. It was not as effective as using harsh words like in the underground palace. So she gave up the way of persuasion and said with a wooden face, break the roots or the main vine, it's your choice. Chang Qing instantly retracted the vines that had covered the wall, shrinking them to a thin, 2-meter-long mass. He complained plaintively, woo. You're threatening me. You bad guy. Lin Miaomiao remained unmoved. Stop pretending. I'll give you one last chance to choose. Which one do you choose? I've already shrunk, and you didn't help dig. Chang Qing felt deeply wronged. Talking to her like that didn't even give her a chance to choose. Bad guys, all bad guys. The 4 people waiting nearby also became obsessed with it. They dared to watch its antics. They would definitely punish them when they had the chance. No one knew the mutant vine's lament, nor its subtle intentions. After it gave in, Yu Zixin and Liu Kaoyu volunteered to board the mecha and dig it out. thus becoming the villains who aided and abetted it. Despite his best efforts, Chang Qing inevitably broke a few roots, leaving him heartbroken. After Liu Kaoyu planted it in the abandoned bathtub nearby, he couldn't help but mutter, "This lousy bathtub again. Can't you be nicer to me? I'm just asking you to help me for a few days." "Buying a bigger pot is a waste," Lin Miaomiao said righteously. Knowing there was no hope of repotting, Chang Qing could only shut up in frustration, curling up in the bathtub and pretending to be dead. Lin Miaomiao was amused. She wasn't truly cold-blooded. Remembering the bags of fertilizer piled in the corner of the space button, she grabbed one and had Liu Kaoyu, who hadn't yet exited her mecha, pour it into the tub. The pale blue crystals shone brilliantly in the light, nearly blinding her. Lin Miaomiao quickly turned on the tap by the wall and poured some water, quickly dissolving the fertilizer. Delicious. Chang Qing, who had been playing dead, instantly regained his vitality, wiggling all the delicate vines except the main one. Gu Qingheng and the others watched in amusement, finding the vine's temperaments rather diverse. But there was nothing wrong with it, as long as it had no ill intentions. Shen Yu could still tolerate a strange plant. "Kaoyu, don't get off the mech for now. Move Chang Qing to the door leading to the inner enclosure," Lin Miaomiao said, not wanting her beautiful flying car to be burdened with a broken bathtub. Back at the inner enclosure, with both the flying car and the mech unusable, Gu Qingheng called in 2 security robots to lift the bathtub and place Chang Qing next to the elevator in a small dark room. "If someone sneaks in, don't do anything yet. See what they're up to. If they want to kill the people in the house, rescue them," Lin Miaomiao instructed. "If they want to take them away, tie them up with vines. Don't let anyone escape, including the 2 in the house." "Got it," Chang Qing said impatiently. "I'm such a smart guy, how could I let the bad guys get away? But the space here is too small. If I let out those tough guys, I'm afraid they won't be able to turn around. Even if they can't turn around, I can still kill you," Lin Miaomiao snorted. "You'd better not have any bad ideas. The security robots here are not to be trifled with. If those people didn't have experts who control the shielding monitors, they wouldn't have to worry about the security robots being fooled." Putting Chang Qing here was just a double insurance. Although Chang Qing was indignant at being looked down upon, he didn't say anything back. He didn't like the other Vine's tricks of killing people and using corpses as fertilizer. He thought that fertilizer was dirty. It was better to please the bad guys and let them buy more high-quality fertilizer for him. Waving its vines wildly, Chang Qing angrily declared, "Hurry up, I'm going to sleep." After Lin Miaomiao and the other 4 had entered the elevator, it stretched out several vines across the entrance, placing them where anyone could step on them. Recalling the villain's words, it thinned the vines further, until they were only the thickness of a human hair. "It's still good here. I sleep better every night," Chang Qing muttered to himself. Thinking back to when he'd taken root on the cliffs of the Energy Star, those unsympathetic alien beasts would always wake him up in the middle of the night to demand he go outside. It felt like life was now a paradise. "Thieves who dared to destroy my paradise, prepare to be punished by my master." Ha ha ha! Chang Qing waited in the darkness for the traitors to arrive, while Gu Qingheng, with Lin Miaomiao and the others, made a high-profile return to the dormitory. "It's so late. Come to my place for a late-night snack before you go back to bed, or you'll be hungry in the middle of the night." "Captain, can you make late-night snacks?" Liu Kaoyu asked curiously. "No," Gu Qingheng said decisively. "Isn't Miaomiao here?" "That's true," Liu Kaoyu nodded. Lin Miaomiao frowned. What kind of people are these? They're always trying to pin their ideas on her. Just as she was about to protest, she ran into 2 teammates who were jogging in the evening. The 2 were surprised to see them. "Little cook, why are you back and still with the deputy captain?" The person who spoke was Zhang Sanbao, who came in at the same time as them. There was only a little curiosity in his eyes, but he didn't care too much. He asked casually and greeted Gu Qingheng behind him. "The deputy captain just came back from the office. You've worked hard." "Yeah, there's something, so I called them back to help." Gu Qingheng smiled, but his eyes glanced at another team member imperceptibly. He found that he clenched his fists and seemed very nervous, and his heart moved. "It's so late, why haven't you slept yet?" Sanbao said he couldn't sleep, so I accompanied him for a run, Li Nanchan answered quickly. Zhang Sanbao looked at him in confusion. Wasn't it him who first said he wanted to go out for a run, and he even dragged him along? But it wasn't a big deal, so Zhang Sanbao didn't pay much attention to it. He just nodded and admitted, I don't know why I couldn't sleep today, so I went out for a run to see if I could fall asleep after a bit of exhaustion. Chapter 566 Suspicious Person. Li Nanshan breathed a sigh of relief and said to Gu Qingheng with a smile, the deputy captain should go back to sleep. I thought you would be very busy today. It's okay. Don't worry too much because you have someone to help you. Gu Qingheng pretended not to want to say more, and then deliberately said, Katir and the others rushed back to the fleet in the afternoon. They reported to me without even having dinner. I didn't expect that they could help me a lot. What help? Li Nanshan asked. But Gu Qingheng refused to say anything. Alice, this is hard to say, you will know tomorrow. Did something happen? Li Nanshan still didn't give up. If the deputy captain encounters difficulties, just tell us. We can think of a solution together. Zhang Sanbao frowned. Nanshan, what's wrong with you today? Did the deputy captain say that we will know the answer tomorrow? Why are you so anxious? Li Nanshan was shocked and laughed dryly. I just thought that the deputy captain needed help with something, but he didn't call those of us in the base, and specially called Kalir and the others back. Yes, the deputy captain didn't even call us for help when he had something to do. Zhang Sanbao was a little hurt. Does he think they are not strong enough by going far away instead of nearby? Gu Qingheng was now basically certain that Li Nanshan was indeed in trouble, but he was not sure if he had any companions. Not wanting to alert the enemy, he smiled gently and said, You're overthinking it. I have something to go out for tomorrow, and I can't ignore the fleet's affairs, so I'll let Miaomiao come back to help. She's a manager after all, and she has access to the captain's room. I see. Zhang Sanbao expressed his understanding. If the little cook needs any help tomorrow, just let me know. Okay, Lin Miaomiao agreed casually, but didn't take it to heart. They had several people, and Gu Qingheng was only out for half a day, so there was no need to look for outside help. By the way, let's go back and cook a midnight snack. Do you two want to join us? Gu Qingheng asked tentatively, his eyes fixed on Li Nanshan, wanting to see how he would react. Zhang Sanbao was willing to go, but Li Nanshan, who had something to hide, was not willing to go, and hurriedly replied, No, we had a full dinner, the deputy captain doesn't need to worry about us. Zhang Sanbao, who was a little hungry, was very depressed. What was wrong with his friend tonight? He always made decisions for him, but he was always honest and embarrassed to expose him, so he could only nod with tears in his eyes. I don't have the habit of eating midnight snacks. Although he said so, the regretful expression on his face still revealed his duplicity. Gu Qingheng found it funny, but did not persuade him anymore. He just smiled and said, In that case, I won't waste your time. Okay, then I'll continue running. Deputy Captain, you guys go have a midnight snack, Zhang Sanbao said, pulling Li Nanshan who was in a daze. Let's go. Why are you in a daze? He refused to go for a midnight snack, but stood here in a daze. Could it be that Nanshan was sick? Oh, Li Nanshan was dragged forward, but he couldn't help but look back before he could run out. Under the bright streetlight, he saw several cuts on the back of Gu Qingheng's uniform, which looked like it was cut by a sharp weapon, and his heart sank. Looking at the deputy captain's clothes, it was obvious that there had been a fight just now. Did the plan fail? Were Shang Ruinen and the other two captured? Thinking of the deputy captain's words just happened to be of great help. He had to make the worst plan. Liu Kao's martial arts skills were good, and everyone in the fleet knew it. Now he refused to tell them the truth. Could it be that he had caught someone and was going to interrogate him tomorrow? What if he was confessed? No, he couldn't just sit there and wait for death. He had to discuss with others and rescue the people while the deputy captain was resting, otherwise they would be finished. Li Nanshan made up his mind and stopped, saying to Zhang Sanbao, who was running ahead, Sanbao, we've already run several laps. Let's go back. I'm a little sleepy, but I'm not sleepy yet. Zhang Sanbao thought for a moment and said, why don't you go back first? After all, the fleet was safe, and he wasn't worried about anything happening if he ran alone. However, Li Nanshan thought about their possible actions later and didn't dare let him stay on the road. It would be disastrous if they were discovered. He immediately insisted that he go back with him. Since we came out together, of course we have to go back together. Zhang Sanbao reluctantly agreed and followed them back to the dormitory. After the two left, Gu Qingheng and others, who should have returned to the dormitory long ago, walked out of the dark cafeteria. Yu Zixin was confused and asked, why do we have to sit in the cafeteria for so long and not turn on the lights? Is there something wrong with those two people? You are really slow, Liu Kaoyer sneered. I can see that there is something wrong with Lin Yin, and you are still thinking about eating. When he first entered the kitchen, Yu Zixin thought that Gu Qingheng had changed his mind and would not go to his dormitory to make supper, but to make it in the big kitchen. Later, when he saw that everyone did not turn on the lights and just gathered at the window to watch the movement outside, he realized something was wrong. He did not care about his own out-of-line behavior at all. Anyway, it's good that you found out. I am only suitable to be a soldier who obeys orders, Lin Miaomiao said with a smile. A soldier who does not want to be a general is not a good soldier. Yu Zixin jumped up and down. What's wrong with him not liking to use his brain? Who said that he could not be a good soldier like this? As a woman, you should be gentle and virtuous. Look at you, with your expressionless face, you can scare the children when you go out. I don't know why the boss likes you. I also want to know how Oshin likes you, a fool and a big foodie. Could it be that his eyes are not good? Okay, stop making trouble. Let's go to my place to make some midnight snacks. After eating, go to bed early. Gu Qingheng took the lead and walked in front to lead the way. The midnight snack that night was a few bags of quick frozen beef dumplings. They were ready to eat after boiling water. It took only half an hour to solve the midnight snack problem. Yu Zixin, who had waited so long for a bowl of quick frozen dumplings, burst into tears. Liu Kaoyer was also unhappy. Deputy Captain, is this the midnight snack you mentioned? Yes, Gu Qingheng smiled. Dumplings have been a delicacy for thousands of years. Tender beef dumplings are delicious. I'm tired of dumplings. Yu Zixin complained and swallowed one directly. The food in the school cafeteria was too bad. I ate dumplings every day back then. That's right. I don't know what the school was thinking. They obviously have the ability to hire a chef, but they don't want to. At worst, they can use smart housework robots, but they use stupid robots. Liu Kaoyer was very sad when she thought of the days when she was tortured by the cafeteria. Fortunately, I met Miaomiao later. It would be great to be able to go to the Lin family villa for a meal from time to time. Even the steady Zuchen nodded in agreement. I've been eating frozen dumplings for a few years, and now I have no appetite when I see dumplings. Lin Miaomiao felt terrible. It seemed that these people became good friends with her just because she could cook. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 567 Midnight Video. No matter how much they complained, the midnight snack was ready and they couldn't refuse to eat it. After all, it was shameful to waste it, and they were not so pampered as to refuse to eat something they didn't like. After swallowing a bowl of dumplings, Yu Zixin resolutely refused to have another one. I'm full. I've been on a passenger ship for the whole afternoon, and my appetite is not very good. You can take care of the rest. I don't believe you. Liu Kaoyer rolled her eyes at him. He had never fainted in the warships he had been on during missions for several days, but today he started to feel dizzy after just a few hours. Did he think everyone was stupid? Fortunately, Gu Qingheng saw that it was late at night and didn't cook many dumplings. The remaining dumplings were shared by everyone. After eating the midnight snack, Liu Kaoyer shouted that she was sleepy and wanted to go back to the room to sleep. The four of them got up to say goodbye to their host. Gu Qingheng said, "Not many people know you're back. If that Lin Yin has any companions, they might be waiting down there to do something bad to you." Yu Zixin was surprised. Although there aren't many people in the dormitory now, there are still some. If they take action on the road, aren't they afraid of alerting others? When we came back just now, we were fine because there were more people and we were caught off guard. Now that you're going back separately, it's easy for someone to sneak up on you. What should we do then? Liu Kaoyer asked with a wrinkled face. Are we not going back tonight? But she was sleepy. Don't go back to your dormitory. Kaoyer will stay in Miaomiao's dormitory for one night. Axin and Oshin will stay with me for the night. We can talk about other things tomorrow, Gu Qingheng suggested. Yu Zixin glanced at the open guest room, only to find it completely bare, lacking even a bed. He hesitated, but do you have beds here? Are we supposed to sleep on the floor? How could it be so difficult? Gu Qingheng said, feeling a bit embarrassed. My bed is 3 meters wide, so 3 people can sleep comfortably. That's a bit inconvenient, Zhu Chen said, somewhat displeased. He and Ozin were from the same generation, and if possible, They didn't want to share a bed. Yu Zixin wasn't too keen either. With the exception of Zhu Chen, he'd slept alone since he was old enough to understand. He'd been a day student in school, but now that he was in the fleet, he had a private room because there were plenty of rooms. Even the last time he'd been on the second ship back to Milolan, he hadn't experienced the bunk beds because of the short time. But the lieutenant was right. That disrupted the trader's operation tonight, and they were sure to be resentful. They had to be wary of possible retaliation. Or we'll just make do, Yu Zixin said hesitantly. Lin Miaomiao sat there watching the show for a long time. Seeing that the two of them were so upset that their eyebrows were about to be knotted, she kindly said, I have a double bed in the guest room. Do you want to come back with me? It was a brand new 2-meter wide bed that the old man bought when he came here. It was just a spare sheet and a thin quilt to put on, and it was ready to use. Yu Zixin and his wife breathed a sigh of relief, but then became depressed again. Why didn't you tell me earlier that our show was so good? It's okay, but not as good as the Star Video show. Lin Miaomiao said calmly. Yu Zixin rolled his eyes at her. Lin Miaomiao raised an eyebrow. Why did she feel that Azin was almost assimilated by Kair? Even the action of rolling his eyes was so similar. Since Lin Miaomiao also had a bed in the guest room, Gu Qingheng would certainly not object to Yu Zixin and his wife following him upstairs. He didn't really like sleeping in the same bed with others, especially if they were a couple. The security system of the dormitory management is more advanced than that of other places, and it is independent. After midnight, no one can enter or leave without being led by someone living in the building, so there is no need to worry about any danger. Lin Miaomiao took the lead, and the four of them slowly went out and entered the elevator. After a few seconds, they arrived at the 49th floor and settled down. After washing up, they fell on the bed and fell asleep. When Lin Miaomiao was sleeping soundly in the middle of the night, he was awakened by the communicator. He answered the video call with sleepy eyes, and several twisting thin vines appeared in front of him. Bad guys, get up, Chang Twing said in a tender boy's voice. I caught the bad guys. There are so many bad guys, and I caught them all in a few minutes. I'm awesome. After talking for a long time, the key point was only the last sentence. Lin Miaomiao's mind was still hazy. Hearing the words bad guys in quick succession, she felt lost. She instinctively asked, what bad guys? Oh, Chang Twing pondered for a long time before finally finding the right adjective. The ones you ordered arrested. The sneaky bad guys. They wanted to kill the two we've locked up, caught. Lin Miaomiao suddenly regained consciousness. How many are there? Chang Twing's dancing vines paused. It was too busy capturing people to count them. When asked, it could only turn back to count. 1, 2, including the ones you've locked up, there are 8 in total, Chang Twing boasted triumphantly. Look at how good I am. I took them all down in one go. Unable to get any praise, it took the initiative to remind Lin Miaomiao. Yeah, that's impressive. Tentacle types are just tough in combat, Lin Miaomiao said perfunctorily, but she felt a little skeptical. After all, she was a level 6 mutant plant. Taking on unarmed people was easy. Chang Qing, who often watched TV dramas on Star TV, of course knew that it was being perfunctorily treated, so it couldn't help but protest. What's your attitude, bad guy? It's okay that you closed your eyes when talking to me, but you refused to say a few words. Are you looking down on me? Lin Miaomiao smiled bitterly. Uncle Chang, you should also look at the time now. You sent me a video message when I was sleeping soundly. It's good enough that I didn't put you on the blacklist. Chang Qing was stunned when he heard it. Plants also have rest time, but it had a mission tonight and couldn't sleep well. Now that the mission was completed, it was extremely excited and wanted to find someone to show off, but forgot it was still the middle of the night. As an upright alien plant who knew how to correct his mistakes, Chang Qing apologized seriously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Then he simply hung up the video call, leaving Lin Miaomiao with a shocked face. At this point, Liu Kaoir was also awakened by their conversation. Rubbing her eyes, she drowsily asked, who are you talking to so late at night? Lin Miaomiao didn't hide it. Chang Qing captured a few people and feels so impressive that he video messaged me to show off. Liu Kaoir was speechless. She checked the communicator and said, Chang Qing is so clueless about the ways of the world, disturbing my sleep before 4 o'clock. Lin Miaomiao grumbled inwardly that the alien plant wasn't human, so how could it possibly understand the ways of the world? But she said, Kaoir, you're overthinking it. You should get some sleep. It's captured 7 or 8 people, so tomorrow will be a busy day. The fleet was in its developmental stage, yet it had been betrayed by so many people. Who knew if it would affect its future development? You too, aren't you sleepy? Liu Kai'er yawned a few times, covering her mouth with her hands. Before she could get a response, she rolled over and fell asleep. Chapter 568, Not in the Same Group. Although they had been woken once in the middle of the night, Lin Miaomiao and Liu Kai'er still woke up on time at 6 in the morning. After washing up, the 4 of them were thinking about going downstairs to find Gu Qingheng when the alarm in the room rang. It was an emergency call. What happened? Why is there a call? Yu Zixin was confused. I don't know, Zhu Chen guessed. Maybe someone really went to the confinement room to rescue someone and got caught. The deputy captain called the rest of the people to go and check it out. Lin Miaomiao, who got the news in the middle of the night, said with a dull face, indeed, there are quite a few people. Including Sheng Ruinen and the others, there are 7 or 8 of them. The Shenyu fleet, including the logistics personnel, only had a total of more than 260 people. There were only 20 to 30 people left at the base. 7 or 8 people had betrayed them. This ratio was too high. What are these guys thinking? How has Shenyu ever wronged them? They actually have evil intentions, Liu Kai'er said angrily. Yu Zixin curled his lips. Who knows? That's for those ruthless people. The topic was too heavy, and everyone fell silent, unsure how to proceed. Rushing to the conference room without stopping, Lin Miaomiao immediately spotted Gu Qingheng, seated at the podium. After a night's rest, the fatigue on his face had vanished, but his usual smile was gone. Below the podium, about 20 people sat scattered around, their faces filled with confusion and bewilderment. They had never received an emergency call so early. By 6:30, no one had entered the conference room again. Gu Qingheng said calmly, everyone, check on each other to see if everyone's here. The team members quickly glanced at each other and soon made a discovery. Zhang Sanbao was the first to speak. Report to the deputy captain, Li Nanshan hasn't arrived yet. Report to the deputy captain, Xiao Yang hasn't arrived yet. Report to the deputy captain, Zhang Xingyan hasn't arrived yet. At the final count, 8 people were still missing, and the team members who had been close to them were all a little uneasy. Deputy Captain, Nanshan couldn't sleep last night. That might be why he didn't arrive in time. I'll give him a try. Zhang Sanbao turned on the communicator, and the others followed suit. However, Gu Qingheng said, no need. They didn't come not because they didn't want to, but because they couldn't. Everyone was confused and didn't understand what he meant. Some of the more resourceful ones started to think, could it be that they had taken a mission last night and went out? But that didn't make sense. How could they go out on a mission so late at night? At this moment, a strange scene appeared on the snow-white wall behind Gu Qingheng. 7 or 8 people were tied up and hanging on thick and terrifying vines. Those people were the team members who didn't make it to the meeting room. Ah, it's in the confinement room, a team member cried out in horror. And that vine, the one we brought back from Energy Star last time, Deputy Captain, what's going on? Our Nanshan and the others being held hostage by the alien plant. Zhang Sanbao stood up anxiously. We have to go and rescue them, hostaged, Liu Kai'er scoffed. Changqing is a good vine, it wouldn't do such a vulgar thing. Some had already realized something was amiss. They all knew there were level 6 alien vines at the base. But they were planted outside. Now, strangely, they had appeared in the confinement room. As far as they knew, the inner protective shield hadn't been attacked, so someone must have brought a vine in. Looking at the deputy captain sitting steadily on the podium, even the dumbest person could tell who had brought it in. The fact that those tied to the vine were in the confinement room was very suspicious. Everyone, sit down, Gu Qingheng said softly. It wasn't a command, but everyone who heard it sat down obediently. Seeing that everyone was seated, Gu Qingheng nodded with satisfaction. Kai'er, come and explain to them. Several people were involved in what happened last night. As the victim of the attack, it would be very frustrating for him to come forward to explain. At this time, the adjutant had to come forward. Liu Kai'er, who had not yet learned how to be a qualified adjutant, stood up stupidly. This is what happened. Yesterday we received a video message from the deputy captain and rushed back from Maryland. After arriving at the base, we went directly to the captain's room. Not long after, the deputy captain said that all the surveillance in the office building was destroyed. After recounting what happened last night, Liu Kai'er pointed at the people on the screen and guessed, Chang Qing was sent by us to guard and protect Shang Ruinan and the others. The other 6 people should have gone to rescue them. In other words, they are in the same group. The conference room exploded instantly. The team members who were on good terms with those people couldn't accept it. How could this be? Could it be a misunderstanding? Yang Guiyang is such a gentle person, he has never had a quarrel with anyone. Those who had a mediocre relationship with a traitor were very angry. Ever since I joined the fleet, I have regarded this place as my second home. I didn't expect these people to not care at all and actually want to destroy it. Whether they believed it or not, everyone was very emotional. If it was just a small matter like fighting and swearing, they could still laugh it off, but when it involved a big matter of betrayal, no one was willing to forgive. Zhang Sanbao was honest but not stupid. He would never doubt his friends, but after Kandir told him what happened, he was the first to choose to believe it. No wonder Nanchan asked me to go for a walk last night in the middle of the night, and then rush back after meeting you. It turns out he was out to find out what was going on. Why is this happening? Is there something wrong with Shen Yu? Zhang Sanbao clenched his fists with red eyes. I want to ask him what's wrong with him. Has his conscience been eaten by a monster? Although he wanted to rush to the confinement room to question his friend right now, he didn't act rashly. The deputy captain must have summoned them here for more than just this matter. He had to wait here for the next step. Fortunately, Gu Qingheng had to go out today and didn't plan to spend too much time here. After everyone talked for about 10 minutes, they called a halt. The reason I called everyone here so early today is not just to announce this matter, but I discovered that, in addition to the people tied up by Chang Qing, there are people among us who are playing tricks. This time, it wasn't just Zhang Sanbao and the other non-participants who were shocked. Even Lin Miaomiao and the other 4 were frightened. 8 traitors had already been caught last night, and now the deputy captain said that there were still people who hadn't been caught. Could it be that Shen Yu has become like a sieve with holes everywhere? Did I make a mistake? Liu Kaoyer said impatiently. If there were still people, why didn't they follow Shang Ruinan and the others last night, and why do they dare to come here now? Gu Qingheng smiled slightly and said, I'm not mistaken. They didn't go to rescue people because they were not on the same group as those people in the confinement room. Everyone couldn't help but gasp when they didn't expect to get such an answer. Who did Shen Yu offend? Why are so many people picking on them? Chapter 569 The Reason for Betrayal. Hearing the bombshells one after another, everyone was a little overwhelmed, especially when they heard that there was a traitor among the team members. Everyone looked around and became wary of each other. Because Lin Miaomiao and the other 3 had participated in the operation to catch the traitor last night, everyone knew that they couldn't be the undiscovered traitors. The uneasy team members began to move closer to them intentionally or unintentionally. Gu Qingheng shifted his posture from his seat on the podium, rising to the edge and surveying the crowd from above. He waited until most people had calmed down before saying, I've pretty much figured out who has ulterior motives. After all, we've lived together for so long, I'm willing to give them a chance. From now on, within 10 minutes, anyone who steps forward and admits their mistakes will not be held criminally liable by the fleet. Instead, they will be expelled from the military for insubordination. I've already reported this to the captain. This is your last chance, I hope you can seize it. Gu Qingheng paused, standing erect on the podium, observing everyone's reactions. He glanced briefly at some, stared at others for a long moment, and those under particular scrutiny lowered their heads. The conference room was eerily quiet, and even someone as unwavering as Lin Miaomiao felt a sense of unease. Time ticked by, and no one stepped forward. Gu Qingheng chuckled and said, Is there really no one willing to seize this opportunity? If I had pointed it out, I'm afraid the only place you'd be heading to next would be the Star Prison. We still have 5 minutes. Don't think you can hide anything completely. Those who rely on luck won't end well. Gu Qingheng's expression could almost be described as pleasant, but no one dared to ignore his threat. Finally, someone in the calm crowd, unable to withstand the pressure, stood up. Qin Hua. How could you? Sun Bo screamed. Qin Hua stood up and looked at Sun Bo apologetically. When he turned to face Gu Qingheng, his face was calm. I thought you were just bluffing us, but I didn't expect you really knew it. Can I know how you found out? Gu Qingheng was not going to be mysterious. I found out from the surveillance records. Surveillance, Qin Hua said in surprise. Didn't it have been destroyed by that group of people? Then he smiled as if he remembered something. I forgot that you, Deputy Captain, are also a master of virtual networks. It's very easy to set up an independent hidden surveillance network. Qin Hua is not a mecha master, but a technical staff. He majored in virtual network technology and is responsible for the repair and maintenance of the surveillance system in the fleet. After the surveillance system in the office building had problems last night, he quickly discovered it, but did not immediately notify the security robot and deputy. After figuring it out, Qin Hua knew there was nothing he could do if the others refused to admit it. He simply said, "Since the deputy captain already knows, there's no need for you to hide it. Being expelled from the military is better than going to jail later." Perhaps because of Qin Hua's prominent position, 3 people stood up as soon as he opened his mouth. They were all veterans of the fleet, with considerable experience in Shenyu. New recruits like Lin Miaomiao, who had only been there a year, didn't react. But veterans like Sun Bo were filled with shock and anger. They didn't understand. They had all been with Shenyu for so many years. When they fell behind, everyone was fine. Now that Shenyu had improved, they chose to betray. "No wonder you volunteered to stay and persuaded me to follow the boss." Sun Bo's eyes were filled with sorrow. "You had already planned what to do back then, right?" Qin Hua sighed. "There's no need to hide it from you now. We started the plan after this year's ranking tournament. Otherwise, Shenyu wouldn't have gotten the easy and glorious task of delivering military uniforms." "Why?" Gu Qingheng asked. "Perhaps there's a fleet that doesn't want to see Shenyu restored to its former glory," Qin Hua said uncertainly. It's more than just one side being snobbish, but Sun Bo didn't want to know that. He just wanted to know, why would you do such a thing? Qin Hua fell silent. Just when everyone thought he wouldn't answer, he smiled wryly. Life is truly full of surprises. I always thought I'd stay in Shenyu for decades, until I couldn't pilot a mecha anymore. But unfortunately, he paused, took a deep breath, and continued, unfortunately, sometimes unexpected events take us out of our control. I also hope to see Shenyu become a major fleet, but I need a lot of money to rescue people. It's an amount I'll never earn in my lifetime. How much? Sun Bo pressed. 10 million, everyone's jaws dropped. 10 million credit points, with their monthly allowance of just over 5,000, was more than they could ever earn in their entire lives, not even with the extra money they could earn from each mission. Who are you trying to rescue? Have you gathered enough money? Gu Qingheng asked. Save my wife, Qin Hua said, tears welling in his eyes. She's got a strange disease. Her bones are slowly softening. Now she's bedridden all day. The doctor says she needs a special bone strengthening fluid. No way. Is this bone strengthening fluid that expensive? 10 million, Liu Kaoyer was incredulous. A complete heart or stomach replacement wouldn't cost it much, right? Could she have been in a shady hospital? If it's just a one-time use, of course it wouldn't be worth it. But his wife's bones are all weakened. Full repair would probably require a month or so in the repair chamber. Add in the medication and follow-up treatment, and tens of millions wouldn't be out of the question. Gu Qingheng had no doubt about this. Take Xiaoran, for example. She'd suffered from asthenia since she was a child. Each stay in the repair chamber took over 10 hours, costing tens of thousands of credits. At least twice a week, that'd be 20,000 credits. Add in medication, hospital fees, and so on, and it would cost hundreds of thousands a month, or over $1 million a year. In other words, Xiaoran's medical expenses, from childhood to adulthood, must have totaled tens of millions, something only a wealthy family like the Xia family could afford. People with limited savings don't even have the right to be sick. Lin Miaomiao couldn't help but sigh. In her previous life, when she was little, her mother would panic whenever she was hospitalized. Then, after she recovered and was discharged, she started worrying about the empty pockets. Yu Zixin glanced at her with disdain and whispered, a wealthy person like you has no right to lament such things. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at him. Qin Hua certainly didn't have enough credit points. The person who contacted him had promised him 10 million credit points, but only after the project was successful. Before that, they would only pay a deposit of 100,000 credit points. It wasn't just Qin Hua, the others all had similar excuses. Either their families needed money or someone in their family had gotten into trouble and been arrested. Chapter 570 The Unexpected Betrayer. Even if their circumstances were extenuating, Lin Miaomiao still had no sympathy for these people. She was curious, have you ever considered what would happen if they turned against you after this was accomplished? Are you sure you could get the remaining money or rescue your loved ones? Qin Hua and the others weren't sure, of course, but they were at their wits' end. Even with a slim chance, they still wanted to try. Regarding their gambling-like thinking, Lin Miaomiao could only say that gamblers were still prevalent in this world. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, everyone was willing to believe and try. "I think you're stupid," Yu Zixin said with a rare bit of venom. "Putting your hopes on strangers, betraying your friends and the fleet to gamble on that slim chance. It's better to tell the truth about your predicament and let everyone help find a solution." "What can we do?" Qin Hua said calmly. "Even if I told them, what would happen? No one can help me. Even if someone could, they wouldn't have any reason to." Qin Hua knew that some of the fleet's teammates came from well-off families. Lin Miaomiao and Ren Jiaojiao were the most obvious examples. Although everyone in the fleet dressed the same, their mechas were noticeably different. But as he said, no matter how rich the other person is, there is no reason for him to help him. This is not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of credit points, which he can pay back if he borrows them. How can he pay back 10 million credit points? In such a situation, someone suddenly told him that they were willing to help his wife with her medical expenses. Even if he didn't want to, he was shaken. This is a big gamble. Although Qin Hua didn't think he had much chance of winning, he was not discouraged. If he won, he could save his wife. If he lost, Shen Yu could move on, and he could suffer or die with his wife. "I can only say that you take it for granted," Lin Miaomiao curled her lips. Even if she was not familiar with him, they were in the same fleet, and she would definitely help if she could. 10 million seemed like a huge number, but as far as she knew, there were many rich second-generation and third-generation people in the fleet. They were all excluded because of their poor strength or eccentric personalities, and had no choice but to join Shen Yu. After joining the fleet, everyone lived and ate together, making specialized mechas impossible. Not everyone was willing to buy expandable mechas. If a mecha was damaged due to lack of strength, repairs would cost a considerable amount of credit points. Remember, Shen Yu was very poor, providing parts for ordinary mechas was barely enough, but expanding mechas was practically impossible. Team members unwilling to deplete their coffers naturally steered clear of expandable mechas and only bought standard ones. The world of the wealthy second generation was beyond the grasp of ordinary people like Qin Hua. Furthermore, Qin Hua, a quiet and technical man, had few close friends in the fleet, which made him reluctant to speak out about his difficulties. Of course, Qin Hua's case was rare, and at least she didn't sympathize with the reasons offered by other betrayers. Lin Miaomiao didn't even bother to listen to stories about wives seeking divorce because they couldn't afford a house, or sons abducted and accumulating gambling debts. Not only her, Gu Qingheng also thought so. After listening to a lot of complaints, he just said gently, "Since you have chosen to betray, you must bear the consequences of betrayal. From today on, you are no longer soldiers. After returning the things that should be returned, I will send security robots to escort you out of the base." Except for Qin Hua, a trace of unwillingness flashed in the eyes of the others. The team member who couldn't afford to buy a house even said angrily, "We haven't had time to do anything yet. Can't you show mercy and give us a chance to correct it?" Gu Qingheng didn't react, and Qin Hua answered for him, "Once you have the idea of betrayal and are ready to carry it out, there is no possibility of turning back, and the fleet will never accept us again. This is our mistake, and we are not qualified to ask for forgiveness." "That's right. You repented too late instead of in time, and the fleet can't keep you anymore." Gu Qingheng's smile was still gentle, but there was a coldness in his eyes. "You don't know how to reflect on your mistakes, and you blame others for not giving you a chance. What right do you have?" After dealing with the 4 people in front of him, Lin Miaomiao thought that the next step was to go to the confinement room to deal with the 8 hanging on the vines. Who would have thought that Gu Qingheng still had something to say? "I just said that anyone who stands up within 10 minutes, I will show mercy and just expel him from the military and let him go home. But some people still seem to be lucky, thinking that they have not been exposed. I can only say that you may have to spend the rest of your life in Star Prison." Lin Miaomiao's face was wooden. "Why is there more?" "Yes, there is one you can't imagine." Gu Qingheng's face showed a bit of helplessness. "I also find it very strange. Why would she choose such a path?" "Who is it?" Liu Kaoyu urged impatiently. "Deputy Captain, quickly announce the answer. Don't forget you have to go out later." When Gu Qingheng mentioned going out later, he was not in a good mood, and the smile on his face stiffened a bit. "You are right. It's time to make a quick decision." He raised his eyes and looked at a certain place in the audience. "Zhang Keek, don't you think you should say something?" "Keek?" Lin Miaomiao was shocked. How could it be her? Could it be a misunderstanding? Unfortunately, There was no such thing, because Zhang Keek did not refute, but just looked a little strange. How did you find out? I didn't contact anyone, and I didn't do anything in particular, Gu Qingheng said helplessly. Indeed, every time you do something, you just follow the flow, and you don't do it on purpose. But every time you can fish in troubled waters, you won't let it go, such as the armored snake on the energy star. How did you get to that point? What's going on? Lin Miaomiao said angrily. This is what happened. Let me tell you myself, Zhang Keek interrupted him, a gleam in her eyes. Her pretty face seemed to be dazzling in an instant, completely gone from her previous timid look. I know those flowers are a kind of difficult alien plant, and I deliberately lured out the armored snake below. Lin Miaomiao's heart sank. She was still hoping that things were wrong, or Keek had just chosen to betray like Qin Hui, but Keek's words and the change in her temperament shattered her hopes. Why do you want to do that? What good will it do for you? There are so many benefits. Zhang Keek curled her lips in disdain. Actually, I don't like you because you are spoiled by many people, even a cold-hearted man like the captain. Lin Miaomiao suddenly realized. So you are jealous of me? What? You want to use those things to kill me? Zhang Keek shook her head. That's not the case. The boss and the others are nearby. It's impossible for you to be killed by those flowers and strange beasts. I just don't want to see you too happy. I want you to get hurt a little and see if I can scare you so that you never dare to go on a mission again. This is really far-sighted. Lin Miaomiao felt cold in her heart. She thought she was smart, but she didn't expect that she was too naive. Chapter 571, Despair. Just because you're jealous, you can't stand seeing me thrive and want to hurt me. Lin Miaomiao suddenly felt the urge to laugh. She hadn't expected that her ordinary self in her previous life had also experienced a feeling of being envied. But she couldn't laugh. She thought Keek genuinely wanted to be her friend, and that the lack of interaction was because the gap in strength was too big, and Keek had to train hard. Unexpectedly, the truth was so unbearable. Yes, I'm jealous of you, Zhang Keek admitted readily. Why is it that I have both parents, but I don't get as much attention as you, whose mother has died? I have to earn my own living expenses to go to school, but you, under the protection of your family, have your own business and become a wealthy woman. That's all. No, if it were just that, I could tolerate it, but why did the boss fall in love with you? He clearly rejected you back in school. Why didn't he stick to it? Lin Miaomiao was completely speechless. So, did that mean she shouldn't be with you, Huangwen? Miao, stop talking nonsense with her. People like her just can't stand seeing others doing well, Liu Kaoyer said with disdain. What does it have to do with her that you and the boss are together? Why can't she stand it? Yu Zixin snorted. Why? It's because she likes the boss too, so she can't stand it. Zhang Keek was originally very calm, but after hearing what they said, she retorted excitedly. Don't talk nonsense. I don't like Yu Hongwen. There's nothing good about him. I just don't like Miao with him. Just pretend. Liu Kaoyer curled her lips. If you don't like the boss, will you hate Miao? Not necessarily, Yu Zixin joked. Maybe she likes Miao. Doesn't she call Miao goddess? What nonsense are you talking about? Don't guess. It will scare people to death. Liu Kaoyer admired him very much. His thinking was too strong. Lin Miaomiao rolled her eyes at him. Your imagination is a bit too big, but surprisingly, Zhang Keek didn't deny this time. Her expression became strange, and she stared at her with a weird look. No way. Liu Kaoyer couldn't help but scream. It's really Miaomiao you like. Zhang Keek straightened her back. Why? Is it not possible? Such earth-shattering news shocked all the friends. Lin Miaomiao quietly moved to the corner and didn't say anything. She was so shocked that she didn't want to talk anymore. She thought she and Zhang Keek were friends, and they would upgrade to good friends and good teammates in the future. Now she was suddenly told that her good friend of the same gender had different ideas about her. She couldn't accept it at all, okay? Liu Kaoyer, who had followed her to move, poked her shoulder with a finger and asked softly, what's wrong with you? Are you thinking about falling in love with someone else? Lin Miaomiao roared, you are the one planning to fall in love with someone else. I don't like lesbians at all, okay? On the podium, Gu Qingheng was about to announce the punishment for Zhang Keek, but was interrupted by Lin Miaomiao's abrupt words. He said helplessly, Miaomiao, can you guys be quiet for a while? I'm in a hurry. The captain was away, and the deputy captain was the biggest one. Of course, Lin Miaomiao couldn't refuse his request, so she pursed her lips and stopped talking. compared to the punishment of Qin Hui and others who were expelled from the army and forced to transfer to civilian work. Zhang Keke's punishment was more severe. Not only was she expelled from the army, but she was also sent to the Star Prison. As for how many years she would be imprisoned, it was not up to Gu Qingheng to decide. The people above would make their own judgment. Perhaps having long understood the consequences of failure, Zhang Keke wasn't the least bit surprised. Even at this point, she didn't cry, but instead smiled. Although I agreed to be someone's spy, I didn't do much. Even if I'm court-martialed, I'm not afraid. Gu Qingheng smiled as well. I've already gathered the evidence. Even if I send you to the military, you probably won't have to go to court-martial. You'll probably just be imprisoned for 40 or 50 years. There's no way you can get a sentence reduced, even if someone advocates for you. Zhang Keke's face instantly darkened. You want a private trial? I only leaked a little information, not even fleet secrets. How can you get such a long sentence? A public court-martial trial would give her a chance to defend herself, but a private trial wouldn't even give her a chance to speak. She'd fallen out with her family, and her parents would only find her shameful and wouldn't spend money advocating for her. And let's not even talk about those who bribed her, they were just using her. She had no idea of their identities. It's not that we want to conduct a private trial, but your situation has to be handled this way, Gu Qingheng explained patiently. Why didn't you try to find out more about them before you agreed to this? Zhang Keke suddenly had a bad feeling. Her voice trembled as she asked, who are they? Gu Qingheng sighed and whispered, they're not from the Federation. Boom. Another shocking piece of news exploded without warning, leaving everyone dizzy. Zhang Keke collapsed to the ground in shock. How could this be? They're not from the Federation. Could they be spies from the Empire? She simply couldn't accept such an answer. If this was true, she would be charged not with betraying the fleet, but with treason. Was this a joke? No one wanted to see such an outcome. Unfortunately, Gu Qingheng wasn't kidding. He had been monitoring Zhang Keke's communications since she passed on her first message. The fleet didn't surrender their communicators out of trust, but rather because everyone joining the fleet would have theirs equipped with intelligent monitoring devices. Any suspicious activity would be automatically reported to the commanding officer. Zhang Keke was quite clever. She'd somehow managed to obtain a code to block surveillance. If it were any other fleet, her communications might have been blocked, but Gu Qingheng's hacking skills were so advanced that the blocking code was of little use to him. Unless the perpetrator didn't use a communicator to communicate publicly, everything they did would be exposed, even if they bought a new one. With the addition of unfamiliar numbers to Shen Yu's territory, Gu Qingheng would be the first to receive any information. Therefore, Sheng Ruinen and the other two were exposed early on, but their side was cautious. With the exception of Sheng Ruinen, who would communicate publicly, everyone else met privately. It was only through her communications that Gu Qingheng discovered she had accomplices within the base. Sheng Ruinen was actually quite lucky. It was Captain Liu, one of the Mengjia, who bribed her. Zhang Keke, on the other hand, was unlucky because she was allied with an imperial spy whose identity she didn't know. So, even if what she leaked wasn't a secret, she was still charged with treason. As for Qin Hui and the other three, it's unclear whether they were lucky or unlucky. According to Gu Qingheng's investigation, it was Captain He Xingming of the Fengjia who bribed them. With the Fengjia disbanded and the captain retired early, they wouldn't get the compensation they wanted, regardless of whether the plan succeeded or not. Chapter 572. Please pretend to be my girlfriend. After dealing with Zhang Keke and the others, it was already 7 o'clock. Gu Qingheng hesitated for a moment, but decided to let the people in the confinement room hang on the strange vines for a few more hours until he returned from attending Xiaoran's farewell ceremony, so as not to be too late and miss the event. Although Xiaoran was spoiled and willful, she grew up with him after all. He always treated her as a sister, otherwise he would not have been deceived by her again and again without knowing it. Moreover, he actually had some doubts. Xiaoran was actually very afraid of pain and death. Why did she have the heart to commit suicide this time? Is there any hidden reason behind this? After a quick breakfast, Gu Qingheng took Lin Miaomiao and the others to the captain's room, sent all the information received last night to the computer, explained what they had to do, and prepared to set off. After walking a few steps, a sudden thought struck him. He turned to Lin Miaomiao and said, "Would you like to come with me to see Xiaoran?" Lin Miaomiao was startled. "No, I'm not that familiar with her." It was more than just unfamiliarity. Xiaoran disliked her. Attending someone else's farewell ceremony would make even her ghost uneasy. Although superstitions were common in the interstellar age, she believed in the human soul. Otherwise, how could she have traveled here? But Gu Qingheng had already made up his mind. He smiled and advised, Xia Oren has been sick since she was a child and doesn't have many friends. You've known her for years on the interstellar internet, so you could be considered friends. It would be so lonely to go to this farewell ceremony without a friend to see her off. Kabir, don't you agree? To achieve his goal, he dragged his own lieutenant into the mix. Liu Kaoyer didn't understand the grudge between her friend and Xia Oren, but the lieutenant's words made sense. Miaomiao, go. At least don't let her go too lonely, but I need to stay here to help. Lin Miaomiao struggled. It's okay, don't worry about this, Yu Zixin assured, patting his chest. With the three of us here, we'll definitely get it done beautifully. Even Zhu Chen smiled. Miaomiao, don't you believe in our abilities? At this point, what else was there for Lin Miaomiao to say? She could only reluctantly follow Gu Qingheng out the door. Forced to attend the farewell ceremony of someone she couldn't even consider a friend, Lin Miaomiao was deeply depressed. She wouldn't even give Gu Qingheng a friendly look the entire way, not even bothering to speak to him. The culprit, knowing he was being unkind, didn't even attempt to engage her in conversation. Only when the car was almost reaching the funeral home did he solemnly say, Miaomiao, I need a favor from you this time. Lin Miaomiao wanted to remain silent, but noticing the seriousness in his expression, she replied muffledly, what help? I want you to pretend to be my girlfriend. What the hell was this? Was Gu Qingheng feeling that Xiaoran wasn't dead enough and wanted to revive her at the farewell ceremony? Puzzled, Lin Miaomiao decisively refused. No, if Captain Yi finds out, I'll be in big trouble. He'll think I'm trying to cheat. No, Gu Qingheng said. I'll explain to him later. I won't let anything happen between you two. That won't work either. Lin Miaomiao shook her head. There were definitely more than just the two of them at the farewell ceremony. What if someone familiar misunderstood them? Gu Qingheng had a sudden inspiration, to find a fake girlfriend to test the Xia family, especially Xia Yang. It was only at the military general hospital that he realized the Xia siblings were all great actors, and Xia Yang was the best at it, perfectly disguised in front of everyone. For example, in front of Xiaoran, he was a timid but caring brother who would tolerate any beatings and scolding. But in front of him, he was a sunny and cheerful young man. And in front of the Xia family's parents, he was an honest, insignificant son. Most importantly, because the Xia family's parents were too busy to take care of their daughter, he single-handedly took care of Xiaoran's hospitalization. He was actually the Xia family's illegitimate child, but he had been raised under his mother's name since childhood, a fact unknown to outsiders. Xiaoran was willful and spoiled, and had always loved bullying Xia Yang. After learning that her second brother was actually the Xia family's illegitimate child, she became even more aggressive. What kind of image did her second brother have of her? So you're speculating that Xiaoran might have been murdered by her second brother? Lin Miaomiao's eyes widened. So, in this era, there were still so-called family feuds. What kind of drama was this? She just didn't understand. Even if she was murdered, I wouldn't have to pretend to be your girlfriend, right? There was no real connection between the two, and it was impossible to really bring them back to life and tell them the truth. Gu Qingheng suddenly looked strange, a faint blush on his face. He spoke awkwardly, actually, Xia Yang has some ulterior motives for me. He's been in contact with me quite a bit in the past, using Xia Oren's name. The last time he caught the siblings deceiving him, he'd been furious. Xia Yang had video called him several times to explain things, even calling him to the hospital under Xia Oren's name, but he'd ignored them. Then came the recruiting season, and he'd been so busy that he'd forgotten about the two. Who knew then that the devastating news of Xia Oren's death, and an invitation to the funeral, arrived? If Xia Yang was truly suspicious, he'd definitely have approached him after he arrived. Seeing him with his girlfriend, he'd have lost his composure, and when he lost his composure, he could easily say or do something wrong. So, Gu Qingheng had brought Lin Miaomiao along simply to provoke Xia Yang, to see if he'd reveal any clues. You mean, don't you think that Xia Yang wants to see you so badly that if you don't show up, he will murder Xiaoran and ask you to attend the funeral so that he can see you? Lin Miaomiao felt that her little heart was scared out of control. With such a dangerous person, wouldn't it be like courting death for her to go to the farewell ceremony? What if he thinks she is in the way and kills her? No, she must not agree to pretending to be a girlfriend. She hasn't lived enough. I think I should wait for you outside the funeral home, Lin Miaomiao said sincerely. I'm still young and don't want to be targeted by a madman and young? No, I'm here. Gu Qingheng frowned and looked at her. Don't you believe I can protect you? He really wanted to ask the heavens speechlessly. He seemed to be persuading her to help, but why did he scare her so much that she didn't dare to go in? Lin Miaomiao was an honest child. She shook her head with certainty. I don't believe it. You can't even beat Gallier. I don't know. In your heart, I'm not as reliable as Gallier. Gu Qingheng smiled bitterly. He couldn't even compare to her best friend, let alone Yi Hongwen. Speaking of Liu Gallier, the timid Lin Miaomiao had something to say. Since you already had plans, why didn't you ask Gallier to come with you? She has self-defense skills. If she is pretending, there is no need to worry about any danger. Gu Qingheng was silent. He regretted it now. What should he do? Chapter 573 Get Out. No matter how much they regretted it, they had already arrived at the funeral home, and it was impossible to go back and switch Liu Gallier. Time would not allow it. Gu Qingheng tried his best to persuade Lin Miaomiao to get out of the car, but he failed to persuade her to agree to pretend to be his girlfriend. Forget it, this is enough anyway, Gu Qingheng comforted himself. The Xia family has a big imagination. Even if you are not my girlfriend, they will see you coming with me and think that we are a couple. In fact, this is more advantageous. He knows it is a misunderstanding, but Xia Yang doesn't know, and that will still throw him off balance. Just trick me, Lin Miaomiao snorted. Wait until Captain Yi comes back and see how he will deal with you. She said that she refused to agree because she was afraid that Xia Yang would cause trouble for her, but how could Lin Miaomiao really be so timid? She refused to agree only because she thought she was taken and didn't want to be involved in those romantic affairs, even if they were fake. Yi Hongwen looked cold and icy, but he was incredibly jealous. Gu Qingheng had once confessed his feelings to her, and when Captain Yi got the news, he'd come back and give her a good beating, in bed, of course. The two of them argued for a few words, then suddenly felt disgusted with each other and turned their backs on each other. Even after getting out of the car, they walked towards the funeral home, one after the other, and then ran into Xia Yang standing at the entrance. Before seeing Gu Qingheng, Xia Yang stood at the entrance with a heavy face, greeting the friends and family who had come to the farewell ceremony. Upon seeing Gu Qingheng, a flicker of joy crossed his face, a faint one, but Lin Miaomiao caught it nonetheless. This truly is a case of the man with a beautiful face bringing disaster. Lin Miaomiao, hiding in the background, shook her head and sighed. Before she could finish her sigh, she heard Gu Qingheng introducing her to Xia Yang. This is Xiao Ran's good friend. She and I are on the same fleet. I was very sad to hear that she passed away, so I took some time off to come and see her off. Lin Miaomiao frowned. She was very sorry that Xia Ran died at such a young age, but she was not so sad that she would specially run to see her off. If she hadn't been forcibly dragged here by someone, what she wanted to do most was to turn around and go back to the base. But since she was already here, she had to pretend and said, "Second brother Xia, I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to come and see her off." Xia Yang was originally quite happy, but when he saw that she came with Gu Qingheng, his face turned a little pale. He pursed his lips and said, "Xiao Ran never said she had any friends." "You?" Lin Miaomiao interrupted him without hesitation. "I met her on the Star Network for several years. It's been several years since I found out that she and the deputy captain were in real life some time ago. I had planned to make time to visit her sometime later." "Oh, is that so?" Xia Yang said dryly, his hands unconsciously clenched into fists. He wanted to say something else, but gave up. Gu Qingheng seized the opportunity and said, "Let's go in and see Xiao Ran first." With that, he pulled Lin Miaomiao by the arm, and the two walked side by side toward the funeral hall. He didn't think anything of it, but before they'd gone far, Lin Miaomiao felt a chill on her back. As if being stared at by something sinister. She turned around abruptly and met Xia Yang's sinister gaze. Caught in the act, Xia Yang didn't care, but smiled coldly and turned away. The funeral hall was in the front building. It had 100 floors, each one dedicated to a separate funeral hall. There were more than one family farewell ceremony taking place today, and at least a huge black and white portrait on the first floor was one they didn't recognize. "Oh, I forgot to ask which floor Xiao Ran's funeral was on," Gu Qingheng said innocently. Lin Miaomiao gritted her teeth and said, "Then I'll go back now. I'll ask for you when we pass by the door." It was just a casual remark. Now that they were there was no way they could just turn around and leave, and Gu Qingheng wouldn't let her leave just yet. "No thanks, I'll video chat." Just then, Xia Yang, who had been waiting at the door to greet guests, caught up. "Brother Gu, I forgot to tell you which floor it was. Let me take you up." Intentionally or not, he ignored Lin Miaomiao, a living being. In such a situation, Gu Qingheng lost his usual gentle smile. He simply declined, "No thanks. Just tell us which floor it is. We'll need you to greet us at the door. It's okay. Most of our friends and family have already arrived, and there probably won't be many left," Xia Yang insisted. Gu Qingheng didn't insist. He had been somewhat suspicious of Xia Yang, and more contact would reveal more. Xia Ran's farewell ceremony was on the 99th floor. This didn't mean there were that many people requiring cremation today, but rather that the Xia family had chosen the floor themselves. Ordinary people who made reservations at the funeral home were naturally assigned floors in order, but in this world, there are privileged individuals. For example, Xia Ran's 99th floor today was chosen for a long time. Even after death, they wanted a good omen. Upon entering the funeral hall, the first thing I saw was, naturally, Xia Ran's black and white portrait. The girl in the photo had delicate features, a happy smile on her lips, and no trace of gloom in her eyes. She looked incredibly beautiful. Beneath the portrait lay an ice bed. Xia Ran, dressed in a snow-white, long-sleeved gauze dress, lay amidst vibrant red roses. She looked beautiful, but her closed eyes, pale, thin face, and tightly pursed lips betrayed her displeasure, as if she were enduring something before her death. A middle-aged couple stood on either side of the ice bed. The woman bore a striking resemblance to Xia Ran, her eyes red as if she had been crying for a long time. The man had a stern, slightly darkened face, his thick lips tightly pursed, giving a look of unwelcome respect. Both wore black shirts and pants, with white veils tied around their arms. They bowed repeatedly to the friends and family who had gathered for the farewell ceremony. Lin Miaomiao followed Gu Qingheng to the ice bed. They both bowed goodbye to Xia Ran. Then, they approached the middle-aged couple. Before they could say anything, Xia's mother sneered, "What are you doing here? We don't welcome you." Her words carried a strong sense of rejection and chill, a hint of gnashing teeth, as if she wanted to kick him out. While directed at Gu Qingheng, Xia's mother's coldness extended beyond him. It also extended to Lin Miaomiao, who was standing beside them. Her furious expression made it clear she had misunderstood their relationship. Gu Qingheng understood this, but had no intention of explaining. He simply said calmly, "I've always treated Xia Oren as my sister. Now that she's leaving, I naturally have to come and see her off." "You don't have to be so hypocritical," said Mother Xia sternly. "You know how she feels about you, but you brought a beautiful girl here. Do you want to laugh at her wishful thinking? Or do you want her to feel uneasy even after she leaves?" Without waiting for Gu Qingheng to explain, she pointed at the door and shouted, "I don't want to see you. Get out. Now." If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 574, Simple and Crude. Abi, Xia's father shook his head disapprovingly. "There are so many people here, why bother with him? He's just an outsider. He didn't come when Xia Oren was alive, and why is he here now that he's gone? And he brings a woman to show off." Xia's mother burst into tears again. "How can a heartless man like him be qualified to give my baby away?" Xia's father snorted. "He has no right to stand here, but Xia Oren wants to see him, so what if we let him stay here? But I hate it so much. If he hadn't avoided Xia Oren when she was still alive, how could Xia Oren be so disheartened and unwilling to live?" Xia's mother was very unwilling, but she also knew that what Xia's father said was right, and it was right to let Gu Qingheng stay. However, she looked at Lin Miaomiao. "Are you here to watch the fun? Or do you think that my daughter can still snatch her from you after she dies?" Lin Miaomiao bowed to her and answered very sincerely, "Aunt Xia, you misunderstood. I am Xia Oren's friend. I learned the bad news from the deputy ship and rushed back from Alulan to send her off." Mother Xia was stunned. She looked at her carefully for a long time and asked with a frown, "Are you from the same fleet as Gu Qingheng?" Yes, then how could you have rushed back from Ilulan? How long have you known Zaya Oren, and how did you meet? She asked such detailed questions, just like interrogating a thief. Lin Miaomiao was dizzy with these questions. She was very depressed but had to answer. She could only accept her fate and start from the beginning. I'm one of Shen Yu's representatives who went to Milolan's 2nd Military Academy to recruit soldiers this year. Yesterday, the graduates had just chosen their majors, and when I was reporting to the deputy captain, I learned the tragic news. So, she had clearly been dragged here by him, yet she managed to lie back from Milolan without batting an eyelid. Even the calmest Gu Qingheng couldn't help but roll his eyes. But they were comrades, and he couldn't ruin their relationship in public. Gu Qingheng could only lower his head and silently repeat, "White lies are necessary." Mother Xia hadn't noticed anything was amiss, but instead felt guilty after hearing this. "I'm sorry, I misunderstood. My Zaya Oren isn't in good health and doesn't make many friends, so I'm really sorry," Lin Miaomiao said sympathetically. "Aunt Xia, you're too kind. Zaya Oren and I met on StarNet. Back then, she was always chasing the deputyship around, so energetic. But I don't understand. The last time we met, she hadn't had any suicidal thoughts." This was mostly true. Although she had only met Sharan a few months ago, she could still tell from her behavior that even though the doctor said current technology could only temporarily stabilize her condition, she hadn't given up. Zaya Oren was quite outgoing, Mother Xia said, tears welling in her eyes, a hint of nostalgia in her eyes. She had a bad temper, but she was very strong. Every attack was very painful, but she never gave up on treatment. She knew there was no cure, but she still wanted to live. Despite Lin Miaomiao's expressionless face, her words resonated with Mother Xia, and her impression of her improved. Yes, Zaya Oren also said that when she recovered, she would come to the fleet to see me and ask for the deputy captain's forgiveness. She also said, Lin Miaomiao hesitated at this point, as if wondering whether to say the next words. Xia's father and mother asked in unison, what else did she say? Lin Miaomiao glanced discreetly in Xia Yang's direction and saw that his eyes were looking at her with a coldness that wasn't blatant, but it was also not concealed in the slightest. Was he unhappy that she had brought up what Xiaoran had said, but she had to say it anyway, hoping to alert the enemy? She even said her second brother taught her all those tricks to the deputy captain. Lin Miaomiao frowned. I know second brother Xia meant well, but asking the deputy captain to come see her by refusing treatment while she's ill is too dangerous. What if the deputy captain can't get back? I tried to dissuade her at the time, but I didn't expect. Xia Yang never dreamed his actions would be exposed. He assumed that besides Xiaoran, only Hongwen and Gu Qingheng knew about it. One of them was dead, the other was cold and indifferent, and the last one had grown up with him and wouldn't do anything to him. Furthermore, everyone believed Xiaoran committed suicide because the man she loved ignored her, which meant it was all because of Gu Qingheng. As the culprit, no matter how good his explanations were, they would be futile, no one would believe him. But now, a fourth person had learned about it and publicly shared it, blaming Xiaoran's suicide on the plan to lure Gu Qingheng to the hospital. That idea was his, making him the villain who murdered his sister. At that moment, Xia Yang's mind went blank. He wanted to defend himself, but he didn't know how. He saw his parents' suspicious eyes and the furious look of his eldest brother, who had just returned. No, don't listen to her nonsense, Xia Yang said dryly. Zhao Ren is truly heartbroken this time, Lin Miaomiao pointed out sharply. You say she's truly heartbroken this time. So, you're admitting that many of the previous times were fake, and that you instigated it? No, Xia Yang shook his head frantically, glaring at Lin Miaomiao fiercely. She's just being upset. Don't try to frame me. If she was framing you, why are you so angry? Her eyes widened, wasn't they? They weren't small. If she hadn't wanted to tarnish her image, her eyes would have been wider than his. I'm just angry. You're trying to sow discord between our family, Xia Yang said, trying to gain his parents' and eldest brother's approval, but was startled to see the suspicion in their eyes. Xia Hao, the eldest brother of the Xia family, even said, 4 days ago, I video called Zhao Ran. She said that Zhao Yang, your plan to have her feign illness and refuse treatment has been exposed, and Qingheng won't visit her anymore. She asked me to plead for her, and I've already promised her. Xia Ran, still holding on to hope, couldn't possibly commit suicide. Everyone knew that. Xia Yang felt as if he were sinking into an icy cave. How could she? She clearly promised me not to tell anyone. If you don't want others to know, then don't do it yourself, Lin Miaomiao said with a dull face. She hadn't expected things to go so smoothly. Simply sharing what she knew had already garnered such a response. If Xiaoran's death was truly intentional, it would surely be discovered. Her gaze met Gu Qingheng's, who looked dazed. Lin Miaomiao touched her nose with a guilty look. Okay, she had to admit, she had deliberately disrupted the long-planned agreement. But she had her reasons, too. When she first entered, she saw several familiar faces in the morning hall. Even if she was just flirting with Gu Qingheng, others would extrapolate the information. What if word got to Yu Hongwen and he misunderstood? They weren't close friends, so sacrificing her feelings just to find out the true cause of Xiaoran's death wouldn't be worth it. Chapter 575, Turning Away. Gu Qingheng was unaware of Lin Miaomiao's scheming, but after she flatly denied any connection to him, he knew his plan was futile. Fortunately, Lin Miaomiao didn't play along with his scheme to test Xiaoyang. Instead, she used her friend's identity to question the possibility of suicide and directly identified the suspect. Xia's mother and Xiaohao naturally believed their daughter's sister wouldn't commit suicide, but after his initial anger, Xia's father became skeptical. Xiaoyang has always loved Rainer. Are you mistaken? Xiaoyang, at his wit's end, nodded repeatedly, as if he had found a supporter. Yes, I'm close to Xiaoran. How could I harm her? Close. I don't think so, Xiaohao scoffed. He knew Xiaoran's personality well, and she often bullied him. He'd tried to persuade her, but she wouldn't listen. Later, realizing it was just a minor quarrel, and Xiaoyang always smiled and said it was okay, Xiaohao stopped interfering, thinking it was a way to cultivate a brotherly bond. He hadn't expected it to turn out like this. Had he known this, he would never have agreed to let Xiaoyang take care of his sister. Gu Qingheng had no interest in hearing about the grudges between the Xia siblings, but he still interrupted. I think you should discuss these matters privately. The most important thing today is to send Xiaoran off properly, right? Xiaohao was stunned, then said self-deprecatingly, yes, I was so impatient that I put the important matter aside. Let's continue the ceremony. By the way, can I ask for the name of Xiaoran's friend on Star Online? Whether Xiaoran was a friend or not couldn't be proven by just saying it, so he thought it would be better to ask for the name and then verify it. Lin Miaomiao already knew Xiaoran and had added them as friends. Since they couldn't verify their chat history, they were naturally not afraid and readily stated her name. Little Dragon Girl? Without the symbols, Xiaohao's expression turned a little strange. No, Xiaohao fell silent. All names on the Star Network were unique. There couldn't be an exact duplicate, unless some symbols or numbers were added. He had seen the name Xiaolongyu before, using it to help someone find a partner on the Star Matchmaker website. Xiaohao felt a mixture of emotions when the person he had been searching for so long suddenly stumbled upon him. It was a shame that it had to happen at this moment. If it weren't for Xiaoran's unresolved issues, he would have gone with him to Shenyu to find the person. I understand. Thank you for helping Xiaoran prove she wasn't suicidal, Xiaohao nodded, turning to walk towards his parents. It's almost time, let's continue with the next ceremony. Mother Xia burst into tears again. After the next ceremony, her precious child would be sent to the incinerator. How could she bear that? Lin Miaomiao sighed softly and followed Gu Qingheng to a corner. They would only be spectators during the remaining ceremony, not needing to get too close. The Xia family members stood around the ice bed. The MC who presided over the farewell ceremony sang the life story of the deceased while crying. This scene was so touching that even Lin Miaomiao, who had never felt much sadness, had tears in her eyes. Gu Qingheng even closed his eyes and turned his head away. After the MC finished singing, Xia's father and mother said goodbye to their daughter with sobs. After today, they would never see their daughter again. Even if they missed her, they could only look at photos and videos to remember her. Xiaohao followed closely behind. He did not cry, but said solemnly to the ice bed, Xiaoran, Big Brother believes that you will not commit suicide, and will not let you die in vain. Before he finished speaking, Xiaoyang, who was standing next to him, could not help but tremble, as if he was afraid of something. When it was Xiaoyang's turn, Xia's mother stopped him with hatred. Xiaoran died unjustly. He certainly doesn't want to hear him say goodbye. Xiaoyang gritted his teeth to cover up the growing gloom in his eyes, and said in a desolate tone, I am also very sad that my sister is gone. But I really don't know what I did wrong. Mom, please believe me, okay? Don't call me Mom, Xiao's mother sneered. I only have 2 children, Heo and Xiaoran. You are just a wild child and have nothing to do with me. The people watching the ceremony were in an uproar. They didn't expect to hear such explosive news when they came to attend a farewell ceremony. It was really worth the trip. Abi, what nonsense are you talking about? Father Xiao was furious. The good reputation he had maintained for so many years could not be tarnished. Anxiously, he turned around and apologized. I'm sorry, Xiaoran's mother was upset. What I just said is not true. Unfortunately, Mother Xiao's patience had long since worn out after so many years of enduring. Instead of taking back her words, she harshly accused him. Xia Jianshen, I raised your illegitimate child for so many years, and even sacrificed Xiaoran's life. Don't you think it's not enough? Xia Jianshen's face turned pale and blue, and he wished there was a hole in the ground for him to hide in. The truth could no longer be concealed, and Xia Jianshen didn't bother to say anything more. He glanced at his pale second son, then at his daughter lying motionless on the ice bed, then turned and strode towards the door. Father, Xiao called out to him in a cold voice, Xiaoran is going to be put into the incinerator. Where are you going at this time? Xia Jianshen paused for only a moment. He did not turn around and said without looking back, I don't want to make things too awkward with your mother. I'll come back when Xiaoran is buried. Father Xiao left, and Mother Xiao burst into tears. Xiao looked around blankly, and finally signaled the host to continue. Of course, Xia Yang's farewell was omitted. Having witnessed a family feud up close, Lin Miaomiao was too exhausted to complain. In a world where scumbag men are rampant, a man who cheats and has a son still confidently demands his wife raise him. What's wrong with this world? And Aunt Xia, she just obediently raised him when she was asked to. Doesn't she know to be wary of ungrateful people? Gu Qingheng abruptly asked, if you were to encounter such a situation, what would you do? In the interstellar age, children are precious. It's normal for ordinary families to live their entire lives without children. While wealthy families have it easier, they also hope to have as many children as possible. However, in reality, no matter how hard they try, they can only have 3 or 4 children at most. Therefore, even illegitimate children are precious, which leads many mothers to reluctantly raise children for others. No matter how much they hate it, they dare not refuse. But Lin Miaomiao wasn't one of them. She disliked this assumption and said, pursing her lips, if it were me, I'd get a divorce. I'm stingy and wouldn't spend money raising someone else's child, but before divorcing, she'd definitely give the unfaithful man a big gift, like having him beaten up or even castrated. She couldn't tolerate any injustice. Gu Qingheng was embarrassed. Miaomiao's fierce expression was adorable. He could only pray for Yi Hongwen, hoping he wouldn't have 2 minds in his life. Of course, with Yi Hongwen's cold personality, the possibility of him having 2 minds was extremely slim. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.